Hello.
What's up?
Oh, we're in the wrong voice chat. We need to be in the live show.
Okay, I just dropped down.
All right, cool.
I wasn't sure if you had already had it started or what.
It's all good. We are in the mainstream, or we are in the main scene now. We're live. Everybody, there's 7 people here. It says, and we're live. What's up, man? How are you
Oh,
doing this week?
it's certainly been a week. So,
Yeah, me
but
too. Me too.
yeah. Well, good. I mean, I think there's a lot to talk about this week. I'd have to go back and look exactly at some of the topics and ideas that we had discussed. But I think, did you guys already go over the town hall last week? I'm not sure if I was here for that or not.
Last week was Ictennis when
Okay.
Ictennis was on, so we didn't recap the town hall because the second one had not happened yet.
Okay.
Um, I think we might have spoke a tiny bit about the first one, but not real in depth. I do have OBS here set up to where when we want to, I can pull up my web browser and I have the breakdown of the town halls that are on the forums
Oh,
from
the
from
Super
the
Forums.
polls.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I mean, I went to both of the town hall meetings. I think I only asked a question during the first one,
yeah,
which I felt was adequately answered. I mean, mine was about us having our own identity as a Tolian. We're not a Kea 2.0, which I was satisfied with the answer. And I think that in general, having been to a couple town halls, over the last however many years I've played, I think this one went really well. Um,
yeah,
I think maybe could have pushed the envelope a little bit with some of the answers. Um, but I think a lot of that also falls on some of the players of asking better questions. I want to
yeah,
say there were probably like 4 or 5 questions asked about fucking Farkle.
yeah, yeah. I'm
So
not gonna poop on people for their questions because that's
I
kind of
mean,
mean.
yeah,
But
okay,
but
all right,
yes, we.
fair, fair, fair,
I
fair.
I think
But I
I think
mean,
we all could have been a bit more prepared when we knew it was when it was
yeah, I
coming.
mean, I think that the general point of the town hall was supposed to be to kind of get like a temperature check on on Anatolia and what's wrong with it.
Yep.
I mean, personally, I don't think Farkle is what's wrong with it, but again, not going to dig on anybody for their questions. Maybe they live for Farkle and they just want to be the best Farkler the
Yeah.
best Farkler there's ever been. But
I
good
mean,
on them for that. But
it's their Pokemon. They want to be
there
the
you
very
go,
best,
perfect.
like no one ever was.
Yep.
So
So, but yeah, I think the town hall overall was pretty well received. I mean, anybody that I've talked to has never had anything bad to say about it. Um, so I mean, and just based on like the speed of which stuff is kind of being handled now, it's kind of surprising. I mean, I don't know if any of you guys have it like configured where you see like the ideas going like getting submitted or handled or whatever, but like
right.
they've just been just blasting through those, like deleting them or categorizing them. Because I just checked mine the other day and I didn't I didn't categorize any of mine, but like now a whole bunch of them were like listed under artifacts or under like priority or whatever. So like they're definitely looking at stuff like behind the scenes. This isn't like, the last the last year where it seemed like there really wasn't any movement like kind of, behind the curtain. But now
Yeah.
you can definitely see that this is going on. So I think I'm actually like I want to say that I was cautiously optimistic when it was announced that we were getting a new producer, but now I would say that I'm probably like you see like steps being taken. So I think this is a great step in the right direction, and I'm like more confidently optimistic about this.
Yeah. Yeah. Wintico says in chat that they had a org rec submitted and done inside of like 3 hours one day.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
we've actually gotten a whole bunch of those, at least for Norian, and I know that one of the Ascendral, I think they just got one like approved too.
That's cool.
I'm not sure if you're allowed to talk about org recs or whatever, um, but yeah. So I mean, and this is like a complete 180 shift away from the last year where people were waiting like 6 months or longer, to even have like a hint of somebody mentioning that something was being done with their org rack.
Right.
So, and I think that it was also a really great thing to kind of set those, not so much like boundaries, but set the parameters for Orgrex. That Ictinus basically said that it was for like quality of life improvements and like flavor stuff for the guild. But any big like storyline stuff that doesn't necessarily go through an org rec. And I think it was good to set that expectation so that way people aren't like, okay, I want to completely change my guild, as a whole, you know,
Hmm.
let me submit an org rec to, to turn, I don't know, to turn the Templar into bards, like that's not something you do. You'd have to do that like kind of on like a personal level. And I mean, I think that a great example of this is just, how I've kind of seen the Centauri change over like the last couple, month or two, in that they're taking a completely new direction. And as far as I'm aware, that's completely player driven.
Yeah.
So I mean, I would have to ask Aisling and Rearin more about how that whole thing is going. But I mean, it seems like it's basically just it's their steam, their gas that's pulling that forward.
Yeah, it's been a busy week. Lots of things done. Feels like it's already been forever since the change in staff happened. But it's only been like what we like 2 weeks now. So I'm looking forward to see what happens the rest of the year. That's my big thing. I hope that some of the big feature based stuff that we've been waiting for gets done uh, by the end of the year. But even if it doesn't and we just get a bunch of event stuff, then I guess at least we've won that battle essentially. So,
Yeah. Hmm.
but as far as the town hall stuff, we could go more in depth with it if we want, but or we could like swing back to it and start going through the what we think about the questions and stuff. Maybe later, and maybe we could start with something simpler.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I don't really care. I mean, we got like 2 hours or so. So, I
Yeah.
mean, you said you had the thing pulled up, so I mean, I don't. I'm in another window playing
Yeah.
WoW while I talk. So,
I see. No, Lou, I think we should start. One thing I want to talk about is what me and you were talking about off stream with milestones. Like,
oh yeah, okay.
yeah, I think that's a good topic because, like I was telling, like we were talking about earlier, is well, specifically we were talking about the idea that there's some people out there that don't like to do milestones if the other tether's in the same room doing them. Um,
Which is fine. I mean, that's entirely
yeah,
their prerogative. But and as far as I know, there's really no bad feelings towards other players that do. Like personally,
right,
myself, I don't really care. If a shadow person comes in and does, gets a couple
right,
hits on Marcelo, I mean, milestones they're just a slog to me anyways. So the quicker I get them done,
right. Well, I think the important thing to note, and the kind of interesting thing about the conversation we were having off stream was is that like I asked, it's like I don't know if I've ever seen this mentioned, but like are milestones and keystones, are they in character or not, or are they out of character? Like what are they? And then I think a lot of the solution to what we just mentioned kind of like depends on that. But like I would probably be into like not wanting to do milestones with Shadow if I knew it was in character, but I don't. So I just try to do what I do to get the credits basically. So
yeah, I think it's like it's this weird middle ground where no one's like quite exactly said, whether or not it's in character or not. So, I mean, credits are definitely like an in-game currency. In that, I think there's like a production quest that you can do, and you take the thing to Kedwin, and he like gives you like a sack of credits or whatever, and
yeah,
like
the
you can
the
actually
weekly
see like,
production
yeah,
quest
yeah,
does
yeah.
that. Yeah.
I've only done that once because I think it bugged out on
Oh,
me.
come on,
Because no, I don't.
you're one of
Okay,
them.
so side tangent. I only did it once because when I took like, when I took the stupid thing back to Anorian
Mhm.
and I went to go give the whatever it was like to turn it in, I gave
Yeah,
it to the wrong NPC and it didn't give it back to
dude,
me.
dude, dude, that literally identical thing you just said happened to me when I started playing again. And
Yeah.
I
So
literally did a bug about it or something, or an issue or
yeah,
something. I can't remember. Like, cause like at the time I was trying to do the one for the Clothier or whatever. And
yeah,
so if you go in there and you give whatever to Clothier, if you don't use the head Clothier's name, it'll give
yeah.
the item to the apprentice.
Yeah.
which was, and then
So
they don't have a
basically,
prog to give it back. So
right, yeah. So I mean, which would be easy enough to do. But since
right,
that day, that has put such a bad taste in my mouth for doing the production quest, so that I haven't done it since.
yeah,
So, which was, it was my fault because I mean, like, how long have I been playing Atolia to
right.
know that I need to that I need to use specific,
The
item
person's name.
numbers
Oh,
when
that too.
referencing
Yeah,
things. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
like, yeah,
Look,
just
look at that. You're making Jezreth sad, our trade minister in chat. He knows now that you don't do your weekly production quest.
no, but you know what? I do bulk orders, for the city when I buy, a whole bunch of steel, which I'm probably going to need to make one here pretty soon because we've had like a lot of like new players coming back, or new players or returning players or whatever. So like I've actually been overstocking all of my three shops, and they've actually been selling, quite a bit of gear. So
Yeah.
um, so don't worry, Jezreth, I got you.
Yeah. And
Maybe.
Wintico says, I don't know if it's backed up by any kind of anything, but I personally view milestones, I guess, as kind of like a bounty, especially for killing the big guys. Um, I mean, that's fair, and that's a cool way to take it, and I'm not opposed to taking it that way. But like, I don't know if there's been any kind of like administrative like statement on if that's true or not.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I could definitely see that, like that, they're rewarding you with credits for taking out this big enemy, like like Brundak or whatever.
Yeah, I
But
think off the top of my head, I think it would be, now that we've talked it out a little bit, I think it would be a cool idea if there was some kind of event to make the milestones in character that like basically all the milestones are like put out by Kedwin, like a Kedwin bounty board or something.
I suppose
Like, because obviously both sides value Kedwin or whatever, so I don't know. That's my idea, but yeah,
the what in Kedwin's old age, he just gets tired of selling artifacts, and now he basically runs
yeah.
what's that thing from Deadpool, the Sister Margaret School for Wayward Girls or whatever,
He's
like the
tired of
the
all the
the bar
bullshit in the world.
the bar for mercenaries.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
He's tired of all the bullshit in the world, so he's gonna subsidize us going out and dealing with it by,
Oh, jeez.
making artifacts cheaper. Sort of.
Now I'm a little worried for when Nazian gets tired of all the bullshit in the world.
Oh god. I don't know what that would look like. But yeah, that's just our little I guess our little topic on milestones. I actually like the milestone system quite a bit. I've tried to do all 20 of them every day that I can that I've been playing since they've been out. And I think it's often understated, especially by those of us that have been playing for a long time and having omnitrans and artifacts and everything. But like the milestone system's really, really useful for newer players. I think, even though it's harder for them to get credit for them sometimes. But you know, I'd have killed for the past like 15, 20 years I've been playing these games to have free credits every day, like for the majority of it. You know,
Yeah. Hmm.
but but yeah,
I mean, I don't know. I mean, would it be worth like putting something in that if we're gonna make those in character that it if somebody like I think we were just talking about like tagging a mob that it
right,
locks out the other tether from doing something like that. Like I
right,
think that would be probably a step in the wrong direction, and you'd probably end up seeing like PK out of milestone mobs that
yeah.
people pulling
Well, there's already been sometimes been instances of that getting ready to go that way anyway. Like, I've seen people on our side, you know, kick people out of the room from the other tether, with the whatever the kick is that kicks people out of the room from the monk class.
Oh, right. Yeah, yeah.
So,
Thrust kick or whatever.
yeah, stuff
Yeah.
like that. And I've actually threatened people about Brundock before too, because like Brundock, you have to literally set it up by killing everything in the area. So if like somebody's gonna like threaten to just come in and steal it after you've done all that work, I get kind of grumpy about that.
Yeah.
It's a
Hmm.
little different than just running up to it and attacking it like Marcelo or something.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I've killed like Tolinar, alongside like Yedev and Maleta and like a
Right.
couple of those other people, and they don't really have any problem with me being there. But I mean, if they did, if they were like, "Hey, get out of here," I'd probably be like, "Okay, well, I don't care enough about these, about having to go toe to toe with 1v6 to get these 3, 4 milestones. You're not gonna always get that stuff somewhere else.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, especially since a lot of these you have to do like in a group. And if you miss the milestone train, like sometimes it's like at least another hour before you can get onto it. And if people like, I feel like Atolia is that casual type of game where however much time you can dedicate to it is like however much time, like that's fine. You
Yeah.
shouldn't be that shouldn't be held against you just because you can only play, 45 minutes a day or 30 minutes a day.
Yeah.
Like you should be able to get those milestones done in 30 minutes.
Right. Yeah. And
So
even the most hardcore of us like that hop on the milestone train like literally at howling like I do every day. It's like even
right,
still, even with a group, it can still take about 30 to 40 minutes, and that's doing
yeah,
all of them in like turbo mode. So like,
yeah. And I mean, and I know that Salt is pretty good about doing like the late night stuff too. Because like when I'm usually getting ready to go to bed, like around 2 a.m. or 3 a.m., he'll pop on and he'll run milestones with some of the people who are like in the like uh like the different time zone, like
yeah, that'd be like 5 or 6 in
Australian.
the morning Eastern.
Yeah, so yeah, but that's usually like when I'm headed to bed. So
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm usually headed to bed around 9 or 10 p.m. your time now, but that's just
old
me.
man.
Yeah, I know. Actually, as a little bit of a side tangent, it's funny. I used to when I played Shadow, and I used to hang out on my Shadow character a lot with Calidora back in the day. There'd be times where we'd be playing the game together, and I'd go to bed at like 6 in the morning and stuff like that. Like I'd see the freaking sun coming up. I'm like, oh, it's probably time to go to bed now. But I'm an old man now. I go to bed at midnight instead of 6 in the morning. So, whew, it's a lot. But Sarge said in chat, just knife it when they start the Boondock fight and laugh. Well, while that would be,
Just knife it. Oh
yeah,
man.
to reset all the mobs. That's a good way to troll
Oh
people, but
man.
to be fair, that is a very good way to like troll somebody.
Oh, I
But
would be so heated if
yep,
if I had just cleared out all those mobs
yeah,
and somebody and somebody just goes and knifes it. Oh man.
it's a good use of a knife to troll somebody. But I'd rather use all my knives on like specific things that are productive for me. So, but oh look, morning prayers are done, guys. We had Bamathis come join us for morning prayers last night. I don't know how many people in chat knew about that. That was kind of fun. That was something. But I'm gonna move out of the room. Go back to my shop. And I'm off phase. Alright, so we've talked a bit about milestones. I think there's probably more we could say, but like, I'd rather have other people's opinions on it too. So we'll be done with that one for now. Um, you know, we have some things actually let me pull up Thursday's changelog post. That's something I wanted to talk about. Because I found it kind of interesting. Let me see if it was there. Yeah, I think that was it right there. Okay. So there's a few interesting things about this. First off, and this is what got me about it, is that it seemed like they intentionally posted it right at Howling, which I haven't seen them do anything like that for a long time. And I know that's kind of like more of a I find that interesting thing, but like I do think it says a lot that they actually are paying attention to the time frame in which they post something and what time, and like they're actually like setting times to do things now, which I think is very constructive. Um, obviously the actual changes are really cool too. Like a lot of people saw the stuff about pathfinding. That's probably the biggest stuff in here. Um, Near the bottom, we have things about blue orb and red orb can be used to activate the orbs now, so there's less confusion. But as somebody noted in one of our clans, like they did not include yellow orb still because you still have to use amber orb for that. Did you see any of these this change log?
No, I'm looking at it right now.
Oh, okay, you did.
So
There.
I don't understand what these pathfinding. Uh, like the pathfinding stuff is like the like path tracking or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. I've never run into any instances where it tries to bypass it indefinitely or scaling an impossible incline. So, but I mean, but if somebody else has run into that, which clearly they have, otherwise it wouldn't be in the change log. I mean, great. I mean, that's a great thing. I think that some parts of the pathfinding definitely need to be refined a little bit. And some like special exits or whatever, just I wish they'd go away. Like that stupid shoot and Insta Dive.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think the in
or the
chat they were talking
crevice in
about
like
that
in the
that's what that
Western Tundra
was.
or whatever. So
Yeah. Transferring unbound guild credits will no longer truncate the first word. I mean, these are just things that I didn't even know were a thing, you know. But it's cool that we see that. That's one thing is like even if I didn't know that some of these things were things, I absolutely adore the fact that they're actually like documented, because that's been a big complaint of mine and some other people's is like how little of the time things are actually properly documented, changes and
yeah.
information you should know, but it's not found anywhere and things like that. So like,
I mean, I guess the one thing that really sticks out to me is that the where it says from, it says the Atolian team, and I
yes,
think that that's very important because a lot of the unpopular changes. I know that there was like some infamous rumors surrounding like the celerity changes and Kirok getting threats or something in real
right,
life. But and I think that's a great step in the right direction to get away from that. Is that it makes the administration and the pools appear as a unified front in that whatever changes they're all doing collectively, which should imply that all members of the pools have at least some knowledge and that everybody's on the same page to try and make a totally great going forward,
yeah,
that you know that they all have a hand in shaping that. And two, it protects people from being singled out like Kirok did, was in that particular instance. So that way, if somebody does have an issue with some of this, they can't just put Kirok on blast or flood his emails or like whatever. All this
hmm
stuff specifically has to go through the the customer support channels.
yeah,
So I think that was ultimately that's the only thing I really care about. Like the big takeaway from this change log, because I think that going forward that would be probably like something to do, like a good step in the right direction and keep doing that. You know.
yeah. And like Silo said in chat, on the first point, it talks about it automatically posting by the system. Yeah, well, the thing about that too, because they said that because I had mentioned that it looked like they posted it on a schedule and stuff like that. I didn't even know they could do that. That kind of shows you the fact that they haven't like that in the past they hadn't made an attempt to even use this if it's been a thing they could have done all along. Like
Right.
posting something immediately after howling as the Aetolian team or whatever.
Yeah.
Or maybe that is a new thing. I don't know, but it's a really cool way to do change logs. I wouldn't be opposed to seeing like change logs regularly just posted like this, like right after howling, everything that was changed for the whole day is just posted right then, like on a schedule like clockwork, instead of just like it's like 3 in the morning Eastern and like a change log with like two things gets posted, like
Right.
like well, I mean, and I don't hate that either because I still like seeing change logs. I'm just saying like
Right.
I think it would be worth thinking about like, hey, let's like stack all these change logs we have all day and then put them all in at howling like this.
Yeah. I'm still waiting for my 3 a.m. change log where they finally allow nipple rings.
Oh, like they're noting in chat that basically the first comment in this change log is that this is a new system. I just didn't even see it. I didn't even read that part. It'll automatically get posted the change laws news. Yeah, okay. Well, then they literally are doing what I just said. So I should probably turn our e-leaders clan off too, huh? Don't want people. Yeah, don't need people seeing that while we're streaming.
Right. Don't need to air our dirty laundry.
Oh, it's not dirty laundry. I just don't. Just people don't need to see it. But anyway, yeah, Keegan, my orbs were off. I would turn them back on with my alias, but I have no need of it right now because I'm just standing around doing a stream, and I'm not gonna go bash.
You could,
I could go
you
bash.
could.
I've thought about that all day. I'm like, what if I go get venom sacks with a defilement or on me while I'm streaming? That seems like a bad idea. Um, because I'm kind of old school in the sense that I just always assume the worst will happen, so I just try to avoid
I mean, the worst will
it.
usually always happen, especially when people know that you have defilement aura.
Right.
So, I mean, we could talk about that a little bit because that's an RP like event thing that just happened.
Yeah, yeah. So like one of our other topics that we planned was in it just in general interesting stories from the week. Be it increased role play with NPCs or maybe some god role play that we might have got or whatever. And then like this was a topic that we had like I had posted all week in our Discord, but then like last night, some crazy stuff happened. At least to the Templars and Bamathis and all that. So you can go ahead and start us off if you want. I know you love talking about this.
Oh, I mean, not really.
No?
I mean, I'm not really sure exactly how this all started or came about. I mean, I think I must have been off doing something else, and I think Kalina had told me, in game that Bamathis was in the Templar Vigil. Uh, and he'd put a statue in our chapel or something because I think in our chapel we have statues to the other divine of the spirit pantheon, and obviously we didn't want that there. I mean, we've had a Chakrazil statue there for a little bit because that was part of the deal with some previous RP.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so like yeah, we definitely wanted that to be gone, and I want to say that for whatever reason, whatever deal Kalina worked out with Bamathis is that it was going to be left up for 7 days,
Mm-hmm.
or seven in-game weeks or whatever. And those 7 weeks kind of came and went, and we were like right on the money. And that yesterday, like I want to say it was the Howling
Mm-hmm.
was the that 7 week mark, and we were expecting him to roll through and okay, good job guys, you didn't take down the statue, you guys left it up, and um like now I'll uphold my end of the bargain and I'll take you down, basically type deal.
Mm-hmm.
But like that didn't happen, so we were like, okay, figuring from like a real world perspective, maybe something came up, like it's Friday at
Right.
at 5 o'clock, or well, 5 o'clock for me, but it's probably 8 o'clock for anybody else or whatever. um so we're like, okay, like we'll give them until midnight because that's another day.
Yeah, it was like 1 or 2 hours later, basically.
Yeah. So we gave him like another like 1 or 2 hours like of grace, to do it. And then we were like, okay, so what we're gonna do is if he doesn't take this down, we're gonna start dusting shrines. Like we're gonna take one down for forgetting, and two, we're gonna take like another one down, to remind him to be a little bit more punctual next time. And so midnight came and went, and we went, and I was like, man, I'm like, am I really gonna have to get a defile aura off this thing? Like defile auras are great. I think that if you're going to that if you're in the middle of like an order war or something, great. Defile auras are fantastic. Totally do that. But outside of an order war or something like that, it's basically just like AFK for 24 hours to try and get the aura off.
Right.
Like people, it doesn't promote anybody trying to leave the city, and like myself included. Like I think I left the city like maybe once last night, and that was to go do a lesser.
Right.
But it was at like 2 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
So, uh, and I mean, this is something that's been going on for, I don't know, for a while now at least. Because I remember that when Azami was taking down
Yeah.
Ethne shrines, she would dust like a whole handful and then just go sit in her haven, like
Yep.
haven while in Bloodlock. And it's like, what can you do? It's just an inconvenience to the order members. I mean, because I think that all of these orders are probably sitting on like a couple million in shrine energy. I know that like Dar specifically, we're sitting on close to 20 million shrine energy.
Right.
Um, or maybe it was billion. I can't remember. I'd have to go look.
Right.
But it's definitely a lot. I mean, and I think that in terms of like losing shrine energy per week or per day, I want to say it's probably like 200,000 tops. We do not have a whole lot of like shrine energy usage. So, uh, yeah. So really, like defilement aura is it's just kind of a pain in the ass. So,
It's because of the way it works. It's essentially an inconvenience. Although
yeah.
it also depends on the person. Like
Right.
for example, me and you, we know how to avoid it being more than an inconvenience. For example, like I can just
Right.
sit in the city, I can go sit in my house, I can sit in phase, whatever. But like, let's say your average newbie that we've gotten decided they wanted to test the mechanics of defiling randomly, then they're pretty boned. Like they're not gonna know what to do. They're gonna get destroyed. So it's like again, like I've said repeatedly in other streams, it's like it's either in Anatolia, it's one extreme or the other. A lot of the time, it's like this is nothing or this is everything. But
Yeah.
but anyway, like
So, but the fallout from that was
yeah,
that after we had dusted those shrines, those two that we're getting, and we were going to do one every real life day, uh, that the statue still remained. Um, that after we had dusted those two that we said we were going to dust, then we went back to the statue. Then Bamatha showed up, smited the women in the guild. Oh no, he smited Scanlan too. Okay,
two
smited two and a half women.
and a half women. I don't even think
Uh,
Scanlon would disagree with you.
smited two and a half women in the Templar Guild. Uh, for whatever reason, didn't smite any of the two people who had defilement aura. Um,
We didn't say anything like super aggressive like they did either.
I don't know. I don't know. I feel like I did. But whatever. So anyways, so Bamatha showed up, took down the statue, and then maybe what 20, 30 minutes later, you have Mule and Almol and Massian, poking around Jaru trying to put up another shrine. And
Yeah,
also trying to attack Kalina to goad the two of us out of the city to like defend her. Which it's clearly against PK rules to attack people, if they don't have aura defilement.
right.
I mean, I want to say that she had mentioned that Almol's like pets or his hounds were on her, and then like once he noticed she didn't have aura, he like immediately pacified them. But then we hear out here later that apparently Rasani ended up sacrificing herself to Mule at North of the Trees because apparently she was going to like call like a hunt on like all Templar, which like that's not how defilement works. Like if you get
Yeah,
shrines that are like dusted to a god, you don't get like one. The Carnifex is not the extension of Bamathas's order. I think that Mule and numerous other people have also stated that plenty of times before. So why is the entire guild or a couple of their guild leaders getting involved in something like this that clearly has nothing to do with them?
right.
Like, I mean, it has something to do with Mule because she's Bamonthus' fucking champion.
Well,
But
well,
like,
here's where I'll interject because like while it pains me to play devil's advocate, and you know that, but I will say because we kind of dealt with this. Like I talked in another stream in the past, we dealt with this sort of thing the last time when as a guild we defiled Iocene's shrines. It sucks because if we're doing it as a guild, their order cannot declare holy war on a guild. Like so
right,
they don't have as many like they're trying their best to get back at us in any way they can, and mechanically the game won't let them in a way that makes sense get back at us, and that's not their fault or our fault. So I can see from their angle why they'd like be trying to threaten our guildmaster to try and get to us. But at the same time, like you said, it's also not within the player killing rules of the game. And as a little bit of a tangent, in general, I tend to like the style that Empyrean had on player killing rules, where they were more loose than what they are on Aetolia. But you play within the rules of the game that you're in, I guess. So
I mean, I definitely disagree with the idea that you're allowed to PK anybody as long as it's within your RP. I mean, you could RP that you're just a fucking dick, you
Yes,
know,
you
and
can.
oh, but it's my RP,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know, to do that, which is basically like I don't know. I don't think that's a valid thing to do. I mean, I've been a PKer, for years. Maybe not a great PKer, but I've definitely been in the PK scene for many, many years. And I think that knowing from how things were way back in the day
Hmm.
in old Atolia, where you get into these loops of just revenge PK, I'm incredibly wary to get back to that because it's incredibly difficult to get out of that loop
Hmm.
because Atolians, especially PKers, are incredibly prideful
Hmm.
that they don't want to swallow their pride and say, you know what, okay, like I'm gonna go home and tuck my tail between my legs, or say that I don't want to fight somebody, because then the other side will just be like, oh, look at this coward, they don't want to fight me, oh, you're a knight, you don't have honor, just the tried and true, insults or whatever. It's
Right.
like one, I don't really have time for that. Like if I had $1 for however many times somebody told me that I don't have honor, like I don't know. I would be sitting
You'd
on
have
probably
as
like
much gold as me, right?
yeah, I'd probably be sitting on like as many retirement credits as Illidan. But
Oh wow, bold statement. Bold, bold statement.
right.
Um.
So I just think it's very flimsy, and there was no sort of like RP like avenue into like that was brought forward, to any of the Templar, like, hey, why were you doing this? It's just like, great, now we're gonna kill you. And if that's their if that's their RP, great. I mean,
Yeah.
talk about being like a one trick pony, you know? Like so I don't know. I feel like that I could have potentially gone and killed Saren for the crimes that he committed in Anorian in terms of trespassing, being phased in the city numerous
Hmm.
times, abducting citizens.
Hmm.
That's technically assault.
Yeah.
But I went to Spine's Reach and talked it out with them and gave them the option. I said, we can either collect your bounty and I'll clear your enemy status, which is 3 seasons, or I'll clear your bounty and you wait the 3 seasons and you suffer no death. But if you break the law, you're getting 2 bounties. So, and he opted to duel me, you know, which I didn't want to duel him. I just wanted to take it, because like God, what if I had lost? How embarrassing. I don't really do 1v1 stuff, but whatever.
Right.
So, but surprisingly, I ended up winning. Um, so that was good. But I mean, I think that giving people a choice in how things go down, I think that goes a long way. You know,
Hmm.
that people don't say, and I think it would do good for any sort of conflict that if people are given a choice in how the outcome is, or at least an outcome in terms of like how the punishment will go.
Hmm.
I think people will be a little bit more receptive to negative things, you know,
Yeah.
because I think that in general, like people, human beings, like having choices because we like to feel like we're in control of something, especially when it pertains to us, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So,
I think. Well, I just want to say, because before we get too much off on this particular thing, is that like, I do think. Well, first off, I'm not sure what Sarge is talking about in chat about what about attacking non-coms to push org rules association and then verbally attacking them. Well, I could say I've probably done that in the past on other characters, but it's been many many years in real life, and I don't do that anymore. So I don't know
oh, I
what that
wonder
is
if
in reference to.
he's specific. Is he referencing Caden?
Maybe I don't know. I'm not sure.
Caden and Lenorio.
I don't know.
Yeah. I was there for that. I didn't attack anybody. I mean, that was so. I mean, I can go into that if you want. Just from my perspective.
Well, you can go into that up, but I want to say one more thing before you go into that because I think it bears to be repeated because like again we've actually already talked about the Holy War of the Order system in a previous stream, and I think a lot of that conversation kind of applies to this too. It just happened that it finally came up again, last night or whatever. But like I said, they can't. declare holy war on Templars, but they also, like, even if say they decided, well, we're going to declare holy war on each of your orders, like mine and Damariel and Dar. First off, I'm not even in Damariel's order. I'm just in the congregation. And even if they decided that was all they could do, that also just feels bad because like an order like Damariel just has like zero PKers in it, and it would just be very one sided and pointless. So like
Yeah,
my
pretty much.
but my point with that is like nobody has any kind of real recourse when this stuff happens. It's just all very like this is how you're supposed to do it, but then the reality is this is it's weird. It's like something that probably should be fixed or looked at again, I
Yeah,
think.
no, I could definitely agree with that. Like that, you have mechanical ways that orders can strike back against orders. That cities can go against cities, and well, I mean, maybe not so much now that we don't have a war system, but you don't really have a way where guilds can mechanically say this person is our enemy. We're going to fight this person.
Yeah.
And it basically excludes other people who aren't in that guild to go do that because I think that this stuff tends to get very muddled and spiral very quickly out of control. And that, what might be a Templar versus Bamathis thing ends up being a Templar versus all of Shadow Tether thing.
Right.
And then that quickly turns into Templar and Enorian versus all of Shadow Tether. And then that turns into Shadow Tether versus Spirit Tether. And it's just because everybody is going to try and, bring more bodies to the fight. So,
Yeah. But
but
you
yeah,
can go ahead
I
and
think
speak on that
that
thing
would
you were
be a good
talking
idea.
about. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
if you want
So
to. I just wanted to throw that all out there.
The thing with Caden and Lenoriel was that I guess Kate had found that or she wasn't able to find Caden or something, and she had suspicions of her own that I don't know he was off doing something that he shouldn't have been doing. Um, which I don't know. I mean, she just asked me to find him, and I have a hood, and I have like a couple of those preserved yellowed eyes, so that helped me find people. Uh, so we found them, and they were both in a haven together, and they were both havened somewhere in the Vashnars. And then we went and pulled them out of their haven, and then confronted them about it. And she said, that's fine if you guys want to talk, but just don't be, no private areas. Which I don't know what Durin's association laws are. Uh, I don't know if they have any. I know that Enorian has very loose ones,
Mm-hmm.
and that the Templar only have a fraternization one, where you're just really not supposed to be friendly, and you're definitely not supposed to sleep with people. So trust me when I say that the irony of Sran like busting people for banging shadow people is not lost on me.
Right.
I don't know. Every time I'm like, why can this not fall on somebody else's
Right. Why
shoulders?
can't
Why
somebody
is
else
this
do this?
always me? Like the
Yeah.
one guy, in recent Templar well, yeah, the one guy actually in recent Templar history, who you know had a little get together with a shadow character, but anyways, so the yeah, because karma, thanks salts. Uh, but the thing with the Caden and Lenorial thing is that Kate, warned them, no, you know, basically just make smart choices. Don't be behind locked doors, where nobody can find you, because everybody automatically assumes the worst.
Uh-huh.
And you know, if you're behind closed doors with somebody, I think it's a pretty common, Attolian thing to just assume that people are sleeping together.
Right.
And then that's how rumors get spread. And I mean, this is just like any other industry where some drama goes down. People who aren't even logged in will be getting pinged on Discord and oh, that Caden was
Oh,
behind a locked door with so and so, and they're like, oh my god, no way, so everybody ends up knowing.
right.
You can't. That nothing is a secret in Azolia. Even if you think it's a secret, somebody knows.
Right.
You know. So, and basically the aftermath of this is that Kate as the presiding voice of Durin and Ethne's champion. Like she's not, I mean, she's a combatant, and she's got some measure, position of power, especially over Caden, who was one of her counselors, basically told Lenoriel, like, hey, get it, you as a Spyrian and a member of the Shadow Tether, just off this cursory glance as to that you guys were tucked away by yourselves, you were corrupting my counselor, so like leave with your life, well, but before I change my mind. And rather than doing that, Lenoriel decided that she was going to mouth off to Kate.
Uh-oh.
So Kate decided to attack her, which Kate's Sisson root was broken. So it
Uh-oh.
was kind of embarrassing because she just looped like Flay like 8 times.
Uh-oh.
Which we fixed later.
Right.
But yeah, so then Lenoriel, I guess, called Ardent and Firens, and they showed up, and it was real tense for a moment. And, then we all ended up leaving. But I think that the big takeaway from all this is that uh, the big takeaway is that a little bit of transparency goes a long way. Like, you don't have to, if you want to have a private conversation with somebody of the Shadow Tether, you don't have to tell anybody what that conversation is about. But just so people don't, so their suspicion isn't aroused, just tell them, like, hey, I need to have a conversation with this person. You know, we're going to be, in a, I don't know, in a room somewhere. We're going to be in a haven. You know, don't no need to get worried or suspicious or whatever. If anything happens, I'll or if I need any help, I'll come tell you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but I think just letting people know ahead of time, like, hey, I need to go have a conversation with somebody. Um, you know, that I think that would go a long way into erasing any type of doubt. Because I mean, if people stumble upon you hanging out, in a locked room or like in a haven or something with somebody of shadow, their mind automatically goes to that you were sleeping together.
Right.
And I think that in just within the past 2 weeks, I've personally caught 2 people doing it from Anorian. So
Mm.
it's not like that this is like, oh, this never happens, This happens fairly regularly.
Right.
So, and it's like, you know, nothing against people who want to engage in that type of RP.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but I think that if it, I don't know, it always feels weird, like, like you're the fun police, busting down the door to some party at,
Yeah.
telling them to turn the music down. Like,
Meanwhile, you're on here with me, like being like, "Why can't we have nipple rings?" So.
yeah, uh, yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, basically nipple rings. Like I showed up to IC's
I had
sermon
to.
the other day wearing my nipple rings, and
Right.
Saoirse asked me if they were available publicly, and I said no, sorry, they're not.
Yeah, we could go
So
ahead and catch up with chat here because they've got a bit to say about what you said. If you want to read it and comment on it, since it was your bit of stuff there, you said.
okay. Uh, let's see. I'm reading this.
While he's reading, I'll fill the dead air with a couple anecdotes here. So in regards to Lenorial, actually, this past week, since we're talking about interesting things that have happened, uh, Lenorial advertised on Market like looking for chess partner, and I actually went and played chess with her for an hour or two, inside of the Black Flagon, which is an Estherport, and that was kind of fun. And we literally just played chess. There was no making out at all. It was and she beat me too. Well, I conceded to her because like it was almost time for to do dailies, and I didn't have another like 2 hours to lose chess. But I really enjoy playing chess in Anatolia, and I don't get to do it very often, so
I don't think I've ever played chess.
it's fun. I actually have
Well,
an
I mean, I don't think I've
idea
ever
from
played
like two
chess
years
in
ago
Atolia,
about
but
it. Oh, and okay. And in regards to like being in private with people and people assuming the worst, I always kind of like in the back of my head, I feel that way whenever like I go to talk to Renee or Renai or however you want to pronounce it, and like she's like has me follow her and go to her like apartment in Anorian, and we're just like literally talk. Like it's basically like my character trying to get advice from his mentor, essentially, and just talking
Right.
about things. But like in the back of my head, I'm always like, oh God, what if they think we're banging or something?
I mean, okay, and not I don't know. It's weird because I feel like that it's an RP game and you're not at all I don't know. You're not at all required to tell people what you're doing. Like I certainly don't,
I
you
know
know.
there's it's another one of those things we've talked about that's an unspoken rule about all
Right.
Iron Realms games, not just Theatolia. Like, let's
Right.
be real.
And I mean, I think that I don't know. It's just it's one of those things where like it's better to kind of cover your to cover your own ass. Uh by just letting somebody know, where you're going to be going. Just so that way that if they find out by themselves, by doing a little digging, because there are some people in Atolia and probably, in other IRE games that just love to snoop and
Hmm.
figure out, oh, who's locked away with another. Like I know that, that Sunder has like a group like parser in it where like, you type who groups and it like figures out like who's in the same rooms together.
No, I didn't
So
know
it's
about
like,
that. That's neat.
yeah. So this stuff like exists. But uh, and people love drama. People love drama. So I don't know. Just to be safe, just cover your own butt, and
Right.
just let somebody know if you're gonna. Not saying that like if you want to go have a conversation with Renee that you gotta tell somebody that you're gonna go do that if you're chilling in her apartment. But I
Yeah.
mean, who cares? A room's a room. Now, if it was like you were chilling in like I don't know, a darkened, candle lit bedroom, I
Right.
feel like that would be a completely different conversation. But if you guys were like sitting in the Templar Vigil or, sitting in a shop or something,
Yeah.
probably not. But it's all about location. So big takeaway, a little bit of transparency goes a long way, and I think could have completely avoided this situation with Caden, even if they're him and Lenorial is kind of if them being together was completely innocent. So
So before we move on here, um, and we can respond to chat too if we want. Especially Mule's in here now and said she missed the Bamathis Shrine talks. We could kind of recap that for her if you want. Also,
I guess the only thing that I wanted to know, I guess now that Meal is here, is that to kind of I don't know clear up any lingering rumor or like misconception that the Templar as a whole were going to be hunted based on me and Eric's having to file Menorah, which is why Rossini sacrificed herself for us.
I don't know. Do you want Rosani said she's free now? Do we want to bring her in
Yeah, that's fine. That would be great to kind of
just
for
in general?
transparency's sake, and
She
yeah, I
can
mean, if
talk a
she
little
wants
bit
to,
about it, and
well,
maybe
yeah, and
she
if she
can
wants
talk
to,
some other stuff with us too.
yeah, for sure.
Let me make sure she's set up here. Rosani text. I can bring her in right there, and she should be right there. Okay. Okay, I just
So
typed to her in the Discord, guys. Sorry about dead air
all
for
good.
a second there.
Yeah. So the only reason why I bring that up is because that
Hello.
was I think the rumor that it or not rumor, but that was what it had been said on our web because we had like formed a web when we were doing like the defiling stuff, and then afterwards I think it was Kalina who said uh, that the Carnifex were going to be hunting like the whole Templar Guild because of the Bamathis shrine things. So that's how we were like, what? Like that's not at all how defiling works. But so
What am I needing to clear up?
uh we were
Hello.
talking about the Templar and the Bamathis thing last night and why Mule killed you because I think the only person
Oh,
that knew was Kalina in game and I don't know she didn't tell any of this us this in character so we just heard on web.
no, no. I went to Mule. Because I was doing a sermon and she was shouting, and my initial thing was just, "Hey, keep it down until I'm done," Because Mule and Rasani are oddly enough, being two total opposite ends of the morality spectrum in Atolia, are actually rather friendly with each other. They if you didn't, if you
Rappers.
didn't know them, they could
Good
be
word.
sisters, basically. They're two. We talk about this often, is that they're two sides of the same coin. Um, I went to her specifically because I've been getting into PK lately, and I thought, okay, this is one, a thing Rasani would do. It made sense for her character, and two, it gives me a chance to see where I stack up against Mule. Mind you, we apparently were both not super in the best place to be dueling in terms of our capability to focus on anything but the colors changing in our, you know, e- affliction trackers and stuff. Yeah, I too was very stoned, Mule. I get it. So we'll probably end up
I'm
dueling
really surprised
again.
you guys were able to hit each other.
Yeah, it was actually a good duel too.
Just two nights, just being just stoned as shit, just swinging
Just
hammers.
beating the shit out of each other. I think it would have gone on probably quite a bit longer if I'd actually had all of my Venoms. It was a very good fight. It was a lot of fun. And I went to her seeking it out. Like, this wasn't the Carnifex coming to hunt me or whatever because of my association with the Templar. It was I went to Mule because I saw an RP opportunity and a PK opportunity, and it wound up being a blast. So nobody go after Mule for anything or anything like that. I went to her for a duel, and it was pretty fun. That's why I don't. Sugar Bumble brings up a good point. I don't buy into this whole. Oh, there's no organic PK. There sure is if you make it. It require RP is required to make organic PK. You can't spend all your time bashing and not doing anything, RPing and like interacting with the world, and then go, there's no organic PK when people are pissed that you just came off of Takana to go kill somebody because you were feeling like a tough guy. Like, you have to sort of, I don't know.
Right.
You've got to engage with the world to create organic PK, and that's what me and Mule did. It was a blast. I look forward to dueling her again. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
it. And
Well, I mean, good. I mean, I'm glad that you guys, found something that brought you guys a little bit of a little bit of enjoyment, like between your characters. And I mean, I appreciate that that was, I don't know, for like kind of clearing the air. And I mean, I definitely don't like, go into this, every Saturday going, oh man, time to go shit on these Carnifex, you
right.
know?
Hey, well, it's
Yeah,
just
time
it's
to
hard to not talk about them when they're always like because their role plays that they're loud. Therefore, they're no, you know what I mean. Like I'm not shitting on
I
that
do.
either. I just like because your role play is loud, you're going to be loud in game, and so more things are going to be about you if you're loud. You know.
Right. I feel like it's easy to kind of like to kind of demonize the Carnifex as being like just the typical bad guys because they're always, out there looking for a fight. So,
Right.
It's
which is like entirely within their RP. But I
certainly.
think that if that, I think that I briefly, talked about that if that's really like the only thing that you do, and I mean, I feel like that I don't know, personally, like with, with Sran's enemy status, the Carnifex, I'm kind of bummed that I didn't I was a little gun shy with not approaching Mule about trying to get that fixed, like in character. Which, yes, I did notice. I didn't say anything because I wasn't sure like what to say. Like, oh, thanks for that, and then just get some smart ass reply. Um, but yeah, like I wish that I had done something to be like, hey, I want to get this, this
I
status like rectified or whatever. But apparently I didn't. But that'll be good to know for the next time because I know that Mule she likes to RP. Most of the other Carnifex do as well, like Alela and Almol. But
I think Mule brings a very interesting take on what it is to be a Carnifex. Because honestly, like, if we're looking at and I know somebody out there's gonna be like, oh well, this guild is more neglected or this one. Like the Centaur, as somebody who's now playing a Centauri, I went from a very heavily lore, beautifully built up guild to a guild that has very clearly been neglected and just sort of left there to rot. Um, I think unfortunately that the Carnifex have also kind of gotten the short, like they have those Saluno thing like the Templar do,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
they've kind of gotten the short end of the stick on the Saluno thing in my humble opinion, and that is no fault of any Carnifex. Like they're trying to do the best with what they've been given, but they just sort of have been given, well, Rowan was pissy, so now you guys have to want to kill everybody in sight. And I think that's boring. There's so much more they could have done with the Carnifex that I think a lot of the times players are sort of trying to bring in. Like this whole, well, we're killing people because that will make sure that the world is stronger for when we face bigger threats. That's not something, to my knowledge, that admin gave the Carnifex. The Carnifex were trying to build off of, I don't know, just go out and kill people. And that's not, you're not going to breed, you might get more people in your guild, but RP wise, you're just going to breed, like, nobody's going to have loyalty because it's all going to be brigands. It's like a bandit group at that point.
Right.
Right.
Mind you, as I think that I would hope that at some point, if the admin want to give them more love, they would take into account what the Carnifex have built themselves up off of for a while. But it I don't know. Sometimes and it's one of those things where it's like I can't think, oh well, historically that hasn't been the case. Have to wait and see what the new producer does with his time and stuff like that. So, I'm optimistic, but I think a lot of the time the Carnifex either get brushed off as, oh, they're just brutes, and like they are brutes, but it's clear that the players really want to bring some nuance to a guild that is usually just, I don't know, just go out and kill people and enslave souls, whatever. You're a bad guy. You don't have to feel bad about anything. And it's like clearly, and nobody wants to. I mean, some people want to just straight up play a bad guy that knows they're a bad guy,
Hmm.
but I feel like a good villain feels like they're the hero.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you can't really understand their motivation because most people aren't just cruel for no reason. They always think that they have a reason for their cruelty. So,
That's a really good take on that.
All right. Well, the topic that we were on when you came in, Rosani, was interesting stories from the week. Like, and then I put in quotes. Like from the increased NPC roleplay, from the staff change, from God roleplay, etc. Is there anything interesting other than just last night that you'd like to talk, to bring to light or anything?
let me think in terms of NPCs or anything. I haven't noticed anything on Centauri. Um, but I do think I think one, us getting Anorian getting the new barkeep is fairly
Yes,
interesting.
Zashi.
Um, yeah, I know that there was mostly Farkle going on at that point, and that's totally fair. I know Izia has a gambling problem with Farkle, and that's just fine. Um, I I've heard about some things that have been going on. Admittedly, I'm kind of in a weird spot. And this is something that I didn't recognize as a problem until I did it. Is the You're in a guild in one city and then a different city from that. You
Oh,
live
the
in a
the
different.
envoy thing.
Yeah, so like sometimes you feel like you're kind of in the middle and then out of the loop in terms of what role play you are sort of aware of and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Um I like some of the standards. I saw more of the raven-haired girl from the event with the big snake.
Oh, okay.
Uh
I haven't seen her in a
and
while.
yeah, she was just kind of at the tavern, because she kind of follows around different. She's sort of the. My understanding is that a few people in Spines Reach have taken to her and are taking care of her,
Mm,
and that sort of thing. So she pops up around my tavern sometimes. Um, I'm seeing a lot more activity in that regard. I haven't seen like a more um I haven't seen more gods as much because Ethne will occasionally just kind of jump in
right.
and say things or whatever to us. I haven't seen more of her than that yet, but it's still a new transition.
Right. Right.
But we do have a Demario again, and that was
Yes.
very, very exciting to me.
Yes, it was. It was to me too, as someone one of the few people that's in the congregation, specifically from Honorian as a whole. Like a lot of people in the Mario's congregation are actually Durrani, believe it or not. At least population wise. There's a few of us off the top of my head that I can think of are is Mate and Renee and myself and Alali. Although I keep forgetting that Alali's in Honorian now,
Yeah.
but yeah, it was
I
really cool, like seeing the Mario talk on the congregation and then come put himself in the Templar event. That's a thing that happened that you might not have been privy to as well.
yeah, which again, it's one of those things where I'm aware of a lot of the Templar happenings just because Templar's so heavily tied to how I built Rasani as a character. But I wasn't aware that, and I'm glad because like I said, I love, or maybe I've said before at least, I love Ome. I think Ome as a god is very cool. I do not think Ome fits the Templar.
Right. I
I
I agree with
understand
that
that
too.
Huge agree with that.
Yep. Yeah.
I understand that at the time, the only way we got Orgrex done was by having an active Solani be in charge of our guild, because that
Right.
Right.
was just sort of the way Tyr was doing it. But I'm hoping that going forward, the guild will pick a patron that suits the guild more. And Damariel had always been the
Right.
default, because he's just very Templar, and partly because his old, before he was Damariel, he was a god that literally had the shell of Sir Savelium.
Yeah.
So it just,
Arion absorbed Civilium. Yeah.
Right.
yeah, it's like the Templar are sort of a Damariel guild. And I don't like, yeah, I don't necessarily think that it's always the best to have a guild that's so heavily tied to one particular god. But Honorian is kind of full of that because we're kind of a religious city. Like, the Illumini are usually always followers of the fire god, whichever,
Right.
whatever shell it is. And then it makes sense for a god of valor and truth to be with the knights.
Right.
The Ascendral are sort of the odd man out, but Slife I always felt fit them particularly well because of this, change and growth, and that's kind of what
Yeah.
the all the studying and stuff that the Ascendral do.
For sure. I do want to say, if we're going to talk about gods and stuff, Sarge in chat said that Severn has spoke up a few times recently too, which is cool.
Ooh, that's also good to see.
Ooh, we're getting Daddy Severn back.
Yeah.
Well, looks like my time in the Templar is over.
Oh, good lord.
See ya.
Yep.
It was all a dream.
I'm going back to Shadow Daddy. See you guys later.
Oh gosh.
Oh man. Can't join. You can't. When did they turn his, like? When did they stop letting people join his order? Was that when Bamathus came around?
I think so. Because he
Oh,
became
because
Bamathus' spy master or whatever.
I can I be honest, the person who has taken Bamathus has a lot of work ahead of them, because Bamathus is the most boring god in the world to me. He's just some he's just some heterosexual white guy who has some armor and can't take care of his weapons.
What are you
Like,
trying to
that's
say
all
here?
he is to me.
Wow.
I feel
He
attacked.
just bores the shit out of me.
Wow.
But I do think that I will say this: I like the way that the current Bamathus is handling it, because he didn't right away go to, oh, he's no longer a brat. He's kind of like showing that he's trying to become a more level-headed, and like he's trying to prove, like, no, 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 I can be level-headed. I don't have a temper. And then he has these little spurts of a temper tantrum that I
Right.
think kind of is like a good sell of like a guy who's trying to grow into godhood. So whoever's handling it, I think, is writing it very well.
Right.
That doesn't make me like Bamathus more as a concept, but it does make me hopeful that whoever has him can turn him into something really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I started calling him in web last night. I was inspired by when me and Erzabet adopted a cat. I named our cat Baby Cat, so I'm gonna start calling Bamathus Baby God. That's good old Baby God.
Baby cow.
Yeah, he's Baby God. Baby God Bamathus.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
I hate it.
I know you do. I know you do. I'm always most amusing to myself, typically. But yeah, do we want to talk about any other interesting things from the week, or we want to move on to the next subject here?
I'm trying to think what else happened during the week.
Yeah, it honestly, it's been mostly a week in interesting to me is that I'm hearing not just from the guild I'm in, but like other guilds that suddenly just stuff they've had sitting for sometimes like a year or more are finally just like getting done. Like I had a
Yeah.
bug that was from at least 2 years ago that just
Yeah.
got resolved.
Yeah, I've had a bunch of
Uh,
those too throughout the week, yeah. Ideas and
so
bugs are getting sorted real well.
Yeah, so like even if the and they said the RP might be a little bit slow to start building up just because they have to, we've got a producer that's getting an understanding of all the new lore and stuff. I just think it's also worth mentioning, maybe it's not RP based, but they are just he's just plowing through all these bugs and all these org wrecks. So I that at the very least is a
Right.
huge.
It's like you can tell that there's something going on behind the curtain, that it's not, just radio silence like when Tyr was, at the helm or off doing
Yeah.
whatever it was he was doing. So I think that it's
Well,
definitely a good step in the right direction.
we're sort of learning that what he was doing was not a whole fucking lot. So yeah, no, a whole lot more has been going on, and I'm very pleased about it.
Yeah.
Yep. The hype train continues to roll on full steam. And that's
Oh
good.
yeah,
Hype train.
Yeah.
I guess the only thing is that you have all these like the activity levels in Italia has really been booming like the last week, especially since we've been getting this new producer. I guess perception wise, it seems like there's a lot more people going to Shadow than there are to Spirit. Like we've maybe gotten like 4 or 5 new people.
Yeah.
In terms of Spirit, not a whole lot of returning players. Uh,
Right.
but it definitely seems like that this upcoming orrery in I want to say 6 days, which I'm not looking forward to, because it's just gonna be a slog.
because there's just so many more people I feel like willing to do it now.
Yeah,
Um, I've heard of quite a few people, actually, old players coming back. I won't name any names or anything like that, but we do seem to be, I would say, in my opinion, the biggest name that I saw come back was Taz,
Hmm.
because he was somebody that was really slighted by the administration before this one. So seeing him on and active and engaging is something that I'm like, okay, like there are clearly a lot of people who had given up on the game that are now willing to see what happens because it's changed hands.
Yep. Oh yeah. Yeah, like Rowan says in chat, let's talk about how many newbies are coming in. Holy cow, and then Sarge says we've had a solid 10 of Kans coming over to play with friends. I mean, imagine how like if that's what the Kans are going to do to support us, imagine like once Ictennis really like starts dropping huge events and changes finally, like once the ball gets rolling more,
Yeah,
there might be even more people being like, "Oh, he's doing his thing finally. Let's go take part in it." And I think that'll be really cool to see.
absolutely. I think the biggest point of optimism for me is the fact that Achaeans are literally joining a new game to follow this particular guy here. So I'm very excited to see what he does.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Shall we go to the next topic?
Bring it
Because
on.
I think you'll like this one in particular, Rosani. So we had a topic that I just wrote. It says speculation on where the plot will go versus where we would take it, like for the game as a whole. So like, what do we think? Where do we think that Ictennis, after he's done researching Albedos and all the things, like where do we imagine it may go versus where we think it would go, like or should go? Like, what do you guys think about that? Do you have thoughts?
I have a lot of them, so I'll let you guys voice your thoughts first because I have a shit ton of them.
I mean, I know that like that for myself, I wasn't around for a lot of the like the unveiling with most of uh, Albedos. I mean, I only briefly worked on Delve when I
Right.
was up in the pools,
Yep.
but there definitely wasn't any chatter of like Albady gods. When I was up there, this was like 12 years ago.
Yeah, 11, 12
So
years ago.
so I really do. So so finding out about all these these different Albany gods is still a relatively new concept to me. Um, and I was actually really kind of jazzed at the thought of there being like Albany like cults of all these like forbidden gods, because that is totally something I could see Sran doing. Is
Sure.
fall. And I think that there's actually one of the gods. Second to look this up. Which
Okay.
god is it? It is
Are you gonna cheat on Dara with Moati? Is that what you're
maybe
about to say?
Yavalamon the Fury, the
Oh,
bloodthirsty
okay.
god of fire, well known for his battle lust. Yeah, that would probably I would
Yeah.
totally be.
You did miss. We had something of a, or well, we didn't. I think Durin did. Durin had some of these, fire elementals that are from his plane kind of pop up and go, "Hey, have you seen him?" And they said no, and then they were like, "Cool," and like left. Like they were totally chill dudes.
Oh my
So
god!
it's very interesting to see. Milwaukee was my first big event. Was
Right.
was the unveiling of Milwaukee. It was quite literally I'd been playing for maybe a week or two, and that whole thing happened, which was sort of like, I guess I was spoiled to my first month of Atolia because we had this huge event that just ripped ass. Like it was so awesome. So it was, that's why I had such a strong feeling about the story going forward. They kind of have to focus on Albady gods because that's Bamathus's whole thing. They sort of wrote themselves into a corner now where Bamathus can't just suddenly go, well, I don't care about the Albady anymore. They can stay over there. Like, because then that just won't feel very satisfying, and then he'll just be like the god of PBR and bad opinions. Like, you need to have the Albady there to give him some credence.
Right.
Um,
You have to give him a villain to fight, basically. Yeah.
and honestly, like, to me, as somebody who would, talking about where the story should go, the Albady have to continue.
Right.
And honestly, there's always been these little hints that maybe our gods aren't like innocent bystanders and all this. The Mawadi event was basically, hey, they usurped these guys. Actually, they're not trying to usurp them. So like, we do have quite a bit of history that indicates that maybe at some point we would get a little bit more history on that in particular. I think that would be good. And I want more of Albedos open.
Right.
I
Yeah.
want to I want to see more.
Well,
I
we know it's there. We all it's common knowledge that it's there. It just needs to be released. And
I've heard that from a few people who
yeah.
were upstairs, some of whom built some of it, that
Yes.
were like, there's so much of it that's just sitting there for people to look at.
Yes. That's all I'll say.
And I want to
Yes.
see it. I want to see it.
Yeah.
Um I would also, I want a little bit more exploration of Mitrine. I'd love to see more of. It's
Okay.
such a cool little community that we don't know a whole lot about. They have this spirit that they worship. Like, is the spirit just, because with different religions and with races and stuff, they have like even trolls have the idea of spirits that guide them that aren't
Mhm.
gods, but they are something in between. Is
Right.
it like that? Is it secretly an Albady god? Like, what is it? Tell me what it is. I want to know.
Tell me more.
Yeah, you gave me this thing, you dangled this in front of me. Now tell me what it is. I want to
Sweet,
know.
sweet expositions, you know?
uh there's there's a lot that I would like to know more about. Um Now the Minotaurs, of course, I want to see more of them. I want to know more about their culture. I think that is something that I would love to see developed more because there are some races like trolls or anything like that, Mun, where the culture of them has either been cultivated by players who played the races or by somebody upstairs who just really, really loved crafting culture.
Mhm.
And I wish that every race had that because Enorian at some point had a crafting competition, that was about crafting, like it was like a cultural cooking competition essentially, and I loved that. That was great. I wish that there were more, in terms of also the story stuff. I would also like to see some of these races have their culture expanded upon.
Yeah,
That was
that's
a
fair.
long way to say that.
Yeah, you could, and it's definitely within the realm of all being tied together, being able to be tied together. Yeah, like for me, like where I think it's gonna go versus where it probably will go is that I think where it obviously should go is like they said in chat. I would love to see it to where the rest of Albados is just dropped on us all at once. I would love to be like see massive areas, like multiple massive areas with a bazillion things we've never seen or done, and it's just all dropped in once, and they're like, here you go. I where I think it'll go is I think we'll see probably one or two areas dropped at a time, and they'll try to gauge our reaction and stuff, and try to do things one at a time. That's probably the smarter way to do it, but no matter what, I think everybody agrees that the story has to be continued with Albados, especially because of Bamathis. Like you gotta do something with that. What I think would be kind of fun, what I would do with Bamathis, is kind of use him in a way. Like if it was me and I was writing it, I would have Bamathis like take the Argent Legion or whatever, or the Ardent Legion or whatever it's called, and like go assault Albados finally, and then I would have Bamathis get captured by some powerful Albedo god, and then I would have a story beat where Spirit and Shadow finally are forced to get together to go save Bamathis.
I mean,
I would
that
never.
that does sound like great. That's I don't know,
I mean,
but the
but think
thing
about
is
it. Think
that
about the conflict. Think on both sides. Like I think it would be very interesting to be like, okay, we've hated Benathis for this long, but he's our thing to hate and our thing to destroy. Like,
I mean,
so we gotta go save him.
I feel like
like
that's a
like a
stretch
bully
considering
can't
that
pick on your
Bamathis
younger
is.
sibling.
I guess. I mean, but the thing is that I mean, I've only ever interacted with Bamathis like in this round. Like I've Strain has never heard of him before. Because I wasn't playing back then. And I know that when this Bamathis, just came around, he was trying to push real hard on like recruitment and getting back into being allowed like in the spirit organizations and trying to get a foothold there. And I think I've said it before that like it'd be different if he was like, a little bit more, I don't know, a little bit more charming about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that, it's been brought up that he's technically like a child still, in terms of like divine or whatever. But uh and he feels like he's kind of entitled to people, worshiping him or following his charge that was handed down to him by Daddy Varian. But uh, there's nothing about Bamathis that makes me or Sran want to follow him. Like he's not even a likable asshole. He's just kind of just an asshole.
Right.
So, and that's not to say that that the Solani's doing a great job, because he's doing a great job at making him be an asshole.
Right. Yeah.
So, but I mean, but if that's like this, and I realize that gods have to go through like their own like kind of character development too. Um, and if this is part of it, like great, like I'm excited to see what's on the other end of this.
Yeah.
But I mean, and it kind of sucks because Bamathis is somebody that Saran could totally get behind, like doing that kind of sacrifice everything for kind of the greater good. For the preservation of life on Sapiens is something that Saran could totally do. That's something that he would be one of the first people to sign up for. If he was holding applications or whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that right now, in the terms of like how much Sry would have to sacrifice to follow Bamathis, I think the risk is not worth the reward.
Yeah. The
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. As funny as I think it would be of us all having to go rescue him and be like, oh, so you're not, Really, that kind of sucks for you that you know needed us to come
Yeah,
help you.
but
Um,
on our end on Spirit, it would really like play up that idea that a lot of people have that we have to be morally better than the other side, so we have to, you know. I think it would play that up to be like, okay, let's go rescue him. That's kind of my point anyway.
oh, certainly, yeah. That without doubt, we would certainly end up joining in it, but it definitely it would have to be something that came as you said, I think down the line when he's not such a dick to us. Uh,
Yeah.
Fair enough. Fair
because
enough.
right now, if this happened tomorrow and you asked Rasani, "Hey, do you want to go rescue Bamathis?" She'd be like, "No."
Right.
Like she would tell him to fuck
Right.
himself. So like
Yeah.
there has to be some redeeming, and I think that's as simple as like you just got to tone down the edginess a little bit. Like
Okay.
just
Okay. What?
okay. Here, this is going to be a forging rant by Rasani Marag.
Oh.
Uh, the one thing that makes me hate Bamathis more than anything is this idea that because he's so strong, anytime he swings a weapon, it breaks. Bitch, that means you're not taking care of it. That should be a badge of shame that he wears. Rather because at one point he was gifted a sword that had been forged in like forged with Ethne. Like
Right.
I had gotten permission during the event where we had to make him weapons to use Ethne's holy forge to make him a weapon. And then he broke it. And I'm like, look, you can't be that edgy. A god forged you a weapon, and you just didn't take care of it enough to the point that it broke. Like I don't know why that one gets me the most. Like out of all the edgy shit that's involved with Bamathis, that
Okay, that's
one
fair.
cracks me up. And Rasani always points out, like, bitch, have you learned how to take care of your weapon yet? I can teach you. Like, I'll
Oh
show you
my
how.
god.
Like,
Uh,
ugh. And that's the one that gets me every single time.
okay, so since we're talking about weapon etiquette, something that drives me
Oh,
just
here we go.
absolutely
Do it.
bonkers. Okay,
I
no, I'm gonna
remember
say it.
this.
Okay,
We didn't get to
is
this that
that
time.
we have a couple Templar, and I'm
Oh
not gonna
no.
name them. Is that we have a couple Templar who do this thing where they're standing around and they emote like puts the tip of their blade like against the cobblestone and they lean up against it, and I'm like, are you
No!
kidding me?
You can do that with a warhammer, but nothing else.
Right? Yeah,
A
I'm like,
spear,
come on,
maybe?
dude.
Like, oof. Oh, you're gonna break the tip of that sword, dude.
Yeah.
That's gonna
Okay.
snap
Well,
right off.
thank God I'm not the only one.
This just in. The next time you see Steve at a lesser, emote that for an edge in combat. So you'll tilt
I
him.
will probably cleave you.
Everybody do it
Oh.
so that it's just him alone fighting everybody else.
uh.
We did Phoenicia, but I just had to get it off my chest again. Like, since we're talking about Bamathis, I just had to let it out. Because I'm always angry about it. Oh, man. Uh, but no, I don't think it's a great thing that going forward the story's gonna have to revolve around Bamathis. Not because of, again, we have a new player who seems to really be doing an interesting thing where you can tell he's trying to grow up and still has these little bouts of like being a young person and having these, you know, outbursts of anger or whatever. Um, but because it's kind of a bad look. It's like when almost everybody in Spirit was in Ome's order
Hmm.
because that was the only place that anything was happening. So then you're going to get I think it sort of leaves the other gods kind of in the dust when it's clear that going forward the plot's going to revolve very heavily around one god in particular. And because Bamathis is whatever sworn to fight Albady gods and stuff like that, then yeah, it kind of that you can't say that the plot doesn't revolve around Bamathis because it very clearly does going forward. There was a whole huge event about it, so it I'm hoping that they find a way to make sure that other gods don't lose everybody
Hmm.
because they're going to where the plot is headed, because that's where you're going to get the most interaction.
Hmm.
So you know, I hope going forward that and it shouldn't be too hard. It shouldn't be too difficult because they're all divine or whatever. Um, but honestly, I'd also love to see some plots that aren't like, it doesn't always have to be Albady. I'd like to just see, we've got some shitheads that came over on a boat and are like, well, we're gonna, we claim this, whatever, this is our spot. I'd like some just normal mortal bullshit sometimes too.
Right.
Like sometimes just somebody deciding that they think they're tougher than you, or some kind of diplomatic spat or something. I would love to have to, that's what I liked about that with the with Mitrine, the Effendi or whatever, the snake folks, and then the Empire, because a lot of it was just nobles bitching at each other in news, and that was fun for me. I love anything to do with the Empire. They're so weird and strange to me. I'd love to see more of them.
Yeah. Rowan says in chat, why does it always have to be war?
It doesn't. That's another good thing to point out, is that there doesn't have to be war for it to even be conflict, but a story doesn't always have to be conflict either. Like, again, I point to the single best NPC in the game, Jared Grown Bierman. Uh, we've had many little
Oh,
stories
Lord.
evolve around Honorian just because some three kids in a trench coat, I'm sorry, a grown man, wants to drink beer. And sometimes it could just be little stuff like that. I one thing I sort of wish that was easier and more accessible was the idea of having like a traveling caravan. And I know we have sort of caravans that bring supplies to the cities, but and I guess this kind of goes into artifacts I'd like to see at one point, or even just like a new way to include new shops, is the idea of like literally just you have a shop that is a caravan, you have a limited amount of shit you can sell because it's not an infinite caravan, and it just on its own just sort of travels, or you travel with it or something.
Hmm.
um I would love something like that too. Shit, bring in a traveling circus that keeps going around.
Yeah.
Just little things that make the world feel
Yeah.
more like they're alive.
Not
It doesn't
everything
have
has to be epic, basically.
Yeah, that's what it is. Not everything has to feel like an earth-shattering problem.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can just be normal shit that happens.
It's fair.
What if the next
But
major plot is the discovery of some new race of unintelligent beasts with a special power or quality that we all want to harness? Like super horses or something, I guess.
I wear unicorns.
Wait, did you say that we all want to harness?
It's what it
You
says
already
in
have
the chat.
I think that's slavery.
Oh, well, all right.
So it's an unintelligent beast with some quality. So poaching, I guess. Um, I guess sort of the thing is it's not slavery if it's unintelligent. Um, then it's domestication. Um, I
This is
I
getting
guess,
dark.
yeah, if it's just a beast, like if it's just an animal, I
Yeah.
then suppose if it comes down to,
Oh my
you have
god.
Durin, who's probably on the side of leave it alone because it should just be in nature.
To
Um,
domesticate the
Oh my
Templar.
god.
Mule, why would
Mule,
you say something so controversial yet so brave?
if we want to talk about himbos, you and I both know that we'll both lose and both be domesticated. So
Yeah.
like let's not play this game because we
Wow.
will both lose.
I joked all week about you being too busy to be on Rosani, and now you're on, and now we
Yeah,
get to
I'm
talk
here
about things that are.
about real knights. Fuck yeah,
Oh
that's
Jesus!
my legacy,
No, no.
my piece de resistance,
Oh man.
Oh
my
boy,
opus.
your your
Um,
your your magnum opus.
yeah,
Still missed opportunity to ask that during the town hall, but you
I
probably
know
would
I
have
should
gotten
have.
smited.
I would have gotten smited, but it really would have been worth it, I think.
Right.
Uh,
You got to risk it for the biscuit sometimes.
yeah, you do.
But yeah, overall, it's hard to say where the plot will go. One thing I wanted to mention though, in regards to the little idea that you responded to about, the idea I had of us going to save Bemothus is like, there's definitely been history of the spirit divine, and you know this, you've been there, telling us basically to do what he says, essentially, or to help him or whatever. Like back when we were both in Ethne's order, and like Ethne's like, oh, go help them clean up the corpses or whatever at Scothron.
Right.
So like even though Rosani probably wouldn't want to, I imagine Ethne would be like, oh, we have to go save him, and then you probably would, right? I imagine.
It depends. In my particular situation, Rasani's relationship with spirituality and ethne is rather complicated.
Mm-hmm.
So it really depends. But one of the biggest things that has sort of changed in terms of, this sort of shift that's been going on with her RP and stuff is that she is now at the point where the right thing to do is what matters more than what a god tells her to do.
Hmm.
Because I spent or it was it's I think been two, perhaps three instances of things where somebody in the Templar or somebody in Honorian shut her down on things where she felt that they should go against Bamathis. So it's now gotten to the point where I don't know how it would go. It really depends on how it's written
Right.
because you know, at some point you have to sort of decide where your line in the sand is. And I think that that's always a fun thing to role play, to coming to that conclusion. And I think everybody's done it at least once. Like, where is their line in the sand? Um, so, it just it would be interesting. There's a lot that can be, you know, people can be convinced of a lot of things. But Mathis is such a sticking point for a lot of people because of, his fucking attitude.
I mean,
So
that's fair.
absolutely not disparaging it because I'm one of the people. I'm one of them. Like the whole reason Mule and I actually um it's you know yeah, I did say he's a dick. I'll say it again. The Mathis is a dick. Um, but it's one of the reasons that Mule and I, got to the place where we would decide to duel is because if Rasani had been asked, even though she's not in the Templar and it wasn't her beef, if somebody had come up to her and been like, "Hey, we're getting some stuff so that we can go defile Bamathis shrines," she would have been like, "Oh, tight. Can I come with you?" Like, so it's it'll take a selling. It'll take some selling, some building up of the character before I think it could be done.
Right. That's a good response. All right. So, are we done talking about plot stuff? Do you want to move on to the last thing?
I could talk for hours, and that's probably not helpful. So yeah,
Well,
let's
here's a
move
good
right on.
here's a good plan. We'll get off this plot stuff. We will do my last talking point here, and then we can circle back to whatever we want, and then end the show with that. So
Yeah.
the last thing I wanted to talk about, and this is a thing that very few people are going to know about because I've only been messaging like the pertinent people about it, is that I decided earlier this week. So in each city we all have city points, right? And
Yep.
we all have these people in each of our cities that have to tally these every week or whatever their cycle is, like 2 weeks, a month, or a week or whatever. And we all know that it's a pain in the ass because it's like you either have to write a really good system for it or you have to just do monotonous paperwork in Aetolia for like an hour or more every week, right? So I had this idea. I was like, what if, because Tyr talked about this in Discord before, he left or whatever, that he was not against like making a system to automate, keeping track of lessers, for example. things like that. So I was like, well, what if now that we have the pools that are willing to do things that we need or want and they do it in a timely fashion, I started messaging all the people that tally city points. I'm like, hey, this is my idea for this, and I made a pay spin of an idea proposal because I know that's how they like things to be presented. Of like a city merit point system where you can like use commands to track individuals and automatically like track Ulim or Foci or whatever. It's hard to explain in words, but basically it's like a bunch of commands that would automate a lot of things, but also let you manually do certain things, kind of like morning prayers or something in an Orion. And I messaged everybody about this in each of the cities to get their opinions, and then I emailed Tennis about it yesterday. He has not responded yet. It's a pretty big email though, so but I got everybody's input and I pasted it to him in the email, and hopefully we'll see some kind of result from that. I think it would be very nice to not have to write some crazy ass system to keep track of this stuff. A lot of
I
it
mean,
could
I,
be
I
in.
definitely agree with that. I mean, I don't really know a whole lot of like what goes into that personally, but I know that Kate takes about an hour to 2 hours every Sunday
Yeah, that's
to
about what it is
update
for
the
me.
point system for Durin. And I mean, personally, I'm a fan of like automating stuff that is just like tedious record keeping, and I feel like that every organization has that. So even like taking a step further, like away from cities, that you can also do that when it comes to like doing like just set up like a tracking system, like where you can set up like templates for
Yeah,
stuff that you can do in guilds too. Because I know that like that Renee does that a lot in the Templar as well. Like she's pretty much our record keeper, and if
yeah,
like if she ever decides to stop playing, like we're pretty much screwed to try and figure out a way, for her system. So I think that it might be worth looking at having like a second person kind of be trained under her, so that way she kind of knows. I don't know if she's done that with you because you're the other provost like underneath her,
hmm
but um, I mean, I think a lot of this has to go back to that just the ministry systems themselves are just terrible and they need to be nuked or completely revamped because they're just so antiquated.
yeah, yeah. It's like it's definitely. I don't think it would be that hard. Like I can't say that for certain because I'm not a coder and I was never a coder, Solani. But I can't imagine it would be that hard to be able to track a lot of these things that because like what it comes down to is every week one of the things that makes it take the longest is that you have to go through, at least in Anorian, this is how I do it. So we do it every week on Sunday. So I have to go through the entire city logs for the past every day for the past week. I paste all of them into a notepad, and then I have to go through and like delete every line that's not pertinent to what I'm doing. And then I have to go down through every single line and like put 1 point for each lesser on somebody's name, and it takes
Right.
forever, forever.
Yeah.
And, you know, even just automating some of it would be super useful. I just think it kind of stinks that, like, you have to sit here, like, time that you could be spending doing anything else, doing some kind of paperwork, and
Right.
it only falls on like 4 people in the whole game.
Right. Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I mean, and it almost seems like that, that what the only reward you get out of it is either like one or two like credit milestones like every day. But, you definitely like earning that credit milestone if you're that minister or whatever, uh is definitely harder earned than I don't know, somebody who's running the war ministry, which is like purely an RP, position.
Yeah,
So I think in an effort of getting like towards some more fairness, to just kind of make it a little bit more automated, like that would be fantastic.
I think I think it may even be something that can be regulated to a sort of a self-reporting, because we kind of do that anyway with making the line. But let's say we had a command where you could, after a lesser, you could then, put in a command that reports your lesser to like a database for the city or something like that. That might be a little bit ambitious, I guess, but you know, it's one of those things where I don't know how they would tag lessers, and I could see things like mists and stuff like that. But I'm
Well, I
unsure
mean, I was
how
figuring that they could
bag.
maybe do something because I know that they already have it with the sermon system, where when you do a sermon,
Right.
it tells you how many people were present. I'm not sure if like how that exactly pulls data, for the people, like if it pulls individual names, because I know that it doesn't report if you've already been to a sermon like one time, like in the week already. So like you have to be like a fresh sermon, you know. Uh, but I mean, maybe there could be something like tweaked with that to make it to make it usable for lessers and stuff like that, and just report it onto the city, you know.
Yeah.
Yep. Um, yeah, I just wanted everybody to generally know about my idea and that I've been messaging people about it, and hopefully we'll get something. And I know because everybody said in chat you can make triggers to do that, but like, first off, I don't want to make a trigger, and secondly, even if I did make a trigger, how does that help future people that have to do it? Then they'd have to also come into Twitch chat and be like, you can make a trigger, or there could just be a system in place where everybody doesn't have to make a trigger, and it wouldn't even be that much effort. I don't think so. You post the
Yeah,
trigger somewhere. Yeah,
I
I don't know.
suppose. I mean, or we could just put that trigger in like into rhyme or something, and then just give it to everybody.
Oh yeah, yeah, because we've got. I suppose that is like a. I suppose that's a good way we can. Now that it's been emailed anyway, maybe they'll come up with a system that's in game. But failing that, it seems like it's something that we can add to sort of a community thing. Like these are the easily available systems to the community. Let's add this into that system. And then you can just sort of have it on or off depending upon if you're in that particular,
Yeah,
particular thing or not.
and like Wintico said, and like Steve said, good workaround in the meantime. But the true solution is entirely revamp ministries, and we've kind of talked
Oh
about
yeah,
that in previous
100%,
streams. So, but yeah,
100%. It's like you said, like there are some ministry positions that are RP only. Like
Yeah,
a war minister is RP only. Like
right.
there's the argument of, oh well, they're there to teach PK to people, but I don't really see them doing that. So like, it's an RP position, and that's fine. But then it does mean that you have people like research or treasury or whatever who are then stuck doing a bunch of shit. And culture has to be reworked so that we don't keep having these people who are like, "Yay, I'm going to be the culture minister," and then it's miserable because it's so hard to
right.
get anybody to do anything.
Well, it's like you have all these people who have like these great ideas or whatever, which is why I haven't been pushing IASTI too hard, because like culture is like, man, talk about just burnout.
Yeah,
Thankless
Because
job,
the
yeah.
whole because the whole like city, you start to hold like a couple events, and people get really into it, and then you get worried about, oh, am I just repeating the same event? And then you get discouraged when people don't show up, and then you feel like that it's your job to basically to entertain the city, which I don't think is necessarily your job.
I
So I think
think
that I changed the parameters for culture when I asked you took it over, and I said, listen, I don't want you to run 60 events during the year. I want you to instead only pick a couple, but primarily we're going to focus on building a sense of community and like tight knit, tight nip.
oh my
that's
god.
um,
you've got the nipple rings on,
right?
Oh,
Yeah,
as you do.
a tight knit, kind of closeness and community. Like that's what I want her to focus on. So, and I think that this last election, with the questions that were answered, we had a lot of citizen involvement with asking questions of all the different candidates and
I
stuff like
think
that.
that yeah, I think it was that's the most lively I've seen an election.
Yeah,
That wasn't an election where one of the people was calling one of the people running was calling the other person running a whore or something. Like this was the most, interaction I saw with an election, but also this whole because everybody always says, well, come find me if you have questions. I liked the whole asking questions to everybody to answer on CT. I think that was great because then everybody, you didn't have one. If you're running, you don't have to answer the same question 50 fucking times. But two, then everybody has the information that they need. And I think it really did help the city feel a little bit more lively. It was like having a debate, except we weren't all sitting in one room. So then Sis and were like, "Well, I better go check out what the fuck's going on over there." Like, we
Right.
were able to have a debate stage without everybody having to be in the same room. I thought it was great. I
I
I
mean,
think it
I
really
guess the only
had
thing that I could see that would like improve that sort of thing is that so that way people don't feel like they're missing out on something. If there was any way to like to keep a record of that, like maybe
yeah.
like to archive stuff like on City Talk or maybe like during elections you have like election question like syntax where you put it up and then people could go
I think that would
during
be
the
great.
election and see like the type of questions that are posed to the different candidates. You know.
Yeah, like even if we had something where it was like there's an election going on, there's suddenly, how we have like CNT or whatever, we suddenly have something that is a city channel that is just election questions that like maybe once per for, well, cuz elections aren't very long. So maybe once per day or something, every 5-10 hours or something, it posts the logs of that if there's any questions that were asked onto like a city news thing or something. And then you've got
Right.
all the questions that, or it just keeps a longer record so that you can scroll through for as long that whole election. Um, and then that way you can, it kind of keeps the city's chatter of us, making jokes about Zavin calling Izzy a cow or something to, then there's the other
Mm,
one where it's like, this is where the election questions are, and then anybody can go
Right.
back and read
yeah.
them at any
Yeah. That's fair. That's a good idea. But I mean, I think that since we're on the topic of elections, can we discuss why it takes like 3 days for the election, but then it takes 10 fucking years to get the results for them?
Yeah, that bothers the shit out of me too. I'm not even gonna control myself for
Like
that. That is the
I don't
dumbest shit in the
understand.
world.
I don't
Like
understand like the reasoning behind that.
154
Like it's
hours
not
to
like
go. Like
it's not
I
like Ictinus is up in the pools cracking the whip at the Solani to have them like tally the votes. Like
I
they already have
I
the information there.
I think, in my opinion, this is what I think it is. I think it is one a way to sort of prevent the, well, I only lost by like a single point. So clearly, if more people had just been awake, I would have won. It sort of stops that from happening because I have seen, periods of time in Anorian where you would have somebody lose one election and then they immediately go after the next herald if they feel like they were close to winning.
mhm.
If they then, for whatever reason that time feel like they were beat in a landslide, then they suddenly don't do it anymore. But when you have an election that divided, when you had like 4 or 5 people in contention, everybody's going to be a little bit close. I'm sure Zavin won by maybe one vote because there were just so many ways that votes could have gone. So it's
Right.
like, I think part of it is to keep people from going, well, I was this close to winning that one, and now the guy who beat me isn't in it, so now I can just go challenge somebody else.
Mhm.
Because we have had instances of Anorian politics where it was just that toxic to be involved in it. Um, I think the second point is to, and this is maybe a little shady, I think it's so that people will maybe have a little bit more time to forget who told them they were voting for them, so that they can't count and go, "Okay, somebody fucking lied to me." You know what I mean? Because everybody knows
Oh my
one person
god.
who would do that.
Right.
Everyone knows one person who would do that. So, I think it's to prevent those little petty squabbles like that, frankly.
I guess
Yeah.
maybe it's one of
Well,
those
I mean,
things that could
I
be
think
revisited.
it's also I don't know difficult. I think to place a number on like the vote weight.
Yeah, because it depends
And
on the login.
this recent election too, I think definitely had, like you said, it was probably decided by like one vote. Because prior to these last this last week or the last 2 weeks, we really haven't had that much activity in terms of people being online in Anorian. So I can't imagine that a fair bit of the citizens had the playtime to even vote in that
Yeah,
because
we
it's
had a
like it's
ton
it's
of new.
over 5 weeks, isn't it?
I think for voting like this, it's all it increases per 1 week, I think.
I'm
Because I
trying
was able
to.
to vote in an
There we go.
election where I hadn't been logging in for a while, and my vote still had a little bit of weight behind it.
Hmm.
So I'm not sure.
It says
Uh,
voting in Anatolia is weighted based on average time in the realm over a 5-week period. Less
so
than
Yeah,
5
that's what I
hours
thought.
is 0, and then basically, yeah, less than 5 hours is 0, less than 12 is 1, and then it
Right.
scales up from
And I
there.
know that it's been brought up that that people just log in an AFK to like boost their vote weight, which has
oh, of
been
course,
like
yeah,
the
a
I
problem.
think that Tier has said numerous times that they have ways. There's like an AFK thing that checks your.
I don't buy that for a second.
Yeah, I don't really
You're
either.
lying
I
to us?
mean,
Yeah.
and you have these people that are like perpetually AFK 99.9% of the time.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Like Eliodon, except for when he's offering free tours to the different elemental planes that'll instantly
It,
kill you.
you know what? It was a fun time. I don't regret going.
It was a good vacation.
That sort of that does bring up a 60% of Atolias being AFK or looking for opportunities. I think that's why more people should use RP Who.
Mhm.
I've gotten into the habit of using it. I'm not on RP Who now because I'm here talking to you guys and not paying the fuck attention to anything. But I think RP Who would help that substantially if people knew to use it. I do think the other thing that would help is the ability to set yourself as genuinely AFK. Like I've played in games where you can literally type in AFK and the
Yeah.
amount of time you'll be gone, and then if somebody new enters the room, it says to them, "Hey, this person is AFK and is expected to be back in this many minutes."
Yeah.
I think that it wouldn't be difficult to add a tag for that. And I think
Right.
that it would help a lot because sometimes you do have people who are AFK in public, and then if it's the third or fourth person you've asked to RP with you, and then they just don't respond, you might get a little discouraged.
Yeah.
But if you can see
Right.
that these people are AFK, then you're like, oh, they're just not here to say yes or no to RPing with me. I'll go find somebody who is.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know.
It's
And I guess RP Who is meant to negate that, but it doesn't at all. Because sometimes when you're on RP Who, you forget to turn it off while you have to AFK for 30 minutes.
right.
So,
Right. I mean, technically, the Who list is considered RP Who if you don't let anything slow you down.
Of course. Oh boy. Oh my goodness. Yeah, like I don't know. I'm very old school about the whole AFK thing. Like we said the last time we talked about it. If I'm going to be AFK for a long time, like if I have to go out of the house and do something, I log off.
Yeah, same.
I don't prescribe to, like, I don't do the thing that people do where they're like, well, I'm going to bed, I'm just going to stay logged into Atolia and be AFK. Like
Yeah.
I don't like that at all. I think it's silly. I think it
yeah.
leads to people trying to interact with you in any way whatsoever, and they're like, well, why aren't they
Well, this
answering?
guy's an asshole.
Like,
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
Uh,
I was actually thinking about staying logged in last night because that would have been like an extra like 8 hours off my defilement aura.
yeah, I
But
thought
I
about that
was
too,
like,
actually.
yeah, I was
Yeah,
like, nah, you know what? I'm just gonna log off. Like, it's
yeah,
not a
yeah,
big deal. I have the whole day today to AFK. So
yeah.
On the topic of defilement auras, I know that a
Neil.
lot of I know that a lot of people are like, "Hey, I, you know, I'm looking for reasons to PK people or ways to do it without getting, like in trouble. That guy's got defilement aura. I don't know what he did, but it means I can kill him." I do think that there's an RP opportunity missed with defilement auras. I
I'd
think
be
that there
curious to know what that is.
well, plenty of things. Let's say, for example, I've got some newbie who, or even somebody who's older, who has defiled a shrine to Ethne. Let's pretend that I am pre being made into a PK troll. We'll say that this is pre Rasani's transition into a PKing individual.
Mhm.
This is me previous to that, where I'm not like, oh, I wonder if I can beat them. Instead of immediately going, I guess I'll go get somebody who can kill them. My first instinct would be to turn it into an opportunity for conversion, as you do with anything. Some of the people I've converted in the past have been people who have come after a lesser to pike my head in my tavern, and then I have a conversation with them, and it continues and continues, and then you build up these very, you know, really intense instances of a character, sort of having this you know, come to Jesus moment, I guess. Um and I think that people sort of miss out on those. And there's ways to do that when you're evil too. Like, just because you're evil doesn't mean that you have to go, well, I'm just going to kill them. You're able to do the same thing, because really it I think that you miss out when, even if you're going to end up in PK, I always think that you miss out if you don't try to have a conversation first. And I understand that part of that is that person with defilement aura may just run away. And then that can be frustrating, whatever you've missed out on, I don't know, piking ahead somewhere or
Mhm.
something. But I do think that, when we're thinking about new and inventive ways to create an alive and interactive world, it's highly unlikely that if somebody, I mean, we can look back historically at humans. We like to kind of make a fuss when we're about to go kill somebody. We're talking about the, Crusades or Alexander the Great or whatever. We're kind of showy. We're kind of camp. And, like, I think people should play into that a little bit more. And, be willing to have those, like, conversations with somebody that, maybe you won't get that quick, easy kill that you want, but you might, discover a thread of RP. You never know.
I mean, I guess that would be I don't know. The only thing that I don't know. Defilement aura is weird in that you're pretty much open PK for 24, consecutive play hours,
Yeah.
Um which is rough, you know? Like
Yeah.
unless you're willing to stay online and, and hide inside of a city for that long. Uh I mean, you could go about your daily business and be outside the city, but I mean, you could potentially be killed like an endless amount of times in that 24 hours,
Mhm.
Certainly.
because I mean I mean technically if somebody was to to kill you 1,000 times, they're not breaking any PK rules for doing that,
Right.
you know. So personally, I mean I'm not like a huge fan of defilement aura. I think that it could do with a little bit of like refining. um and
Certainly,
somebody
yeah.
actually just mentioned to me that it would be nice to see or for defilement aura to show what God like to what like shrines
Yeah.
were like defiled or whatever like is here with an aura of defilement. They I don't know, reeks of Bamathis or something.
Maybe
So
you're only
Sran
open
smells like a
PK
dick.
to maybe you're only open PK to the god's order that you pissed off or whatever,
Right.
instead of
And because I think that
everybody.
right now, just having just be like that blanket rule of you're open PK to whoever, you know. So,
I
and I think that that's technically like even open to people on the same tether, that there's
Yeah.
nothing saying that, that Valerie couldn't come PK me, because there's no way of I could tell her, until I'm blue in the face that I, defiled this, but she could say, well,
Just in
I'm pretty
case. Yeah.
sure you did something to Heron, like, it's just frowned upon, killing your own teammates or whatever. So
I
unless
Yeah.
you're
think
unless you're in Ascendril and dropping calamities.
I think I would be willing to bet, and maybe somebody who's been here longer can dissuade me from. It seems like the defilement or a length sort of stems from a time when time was happening, when it was real time. My understanding
Mhm.
is that you know it used to be that you know it wasn't a day is a full week. So now it maybe they need to relook at the time span in terms of, like, okay, sure, it's only 24 hours to the player, but to the person, it's an aura that's lasting a week, like to the character. And
Right.
sure, you can look at Greek gods and go, yeah, that tracks. That's actually absolutely what a god would do. But if it was only 24 hours when time was going slower than it is now, then you kind of have to figure out why it extended when time changed, or you have to be willing to change it back to what it initially was.
Right.
Uh,
Well, I have an idea. Well, first off, Mule has a good idea, and it's funny because it's kind of a little similar to an idea I was just about to say. She says, "What if outside of war, defilement aura prevented you from defiling another shrine, but getting killed cleared the aura no matter how long was left on the timer?"
I think that would be really
Yeah,
cool.
I would be okay with that. With having with dying, you know, like
I
to another
and then
player outside of a lesser would be good to clear that. Like you have to
it
have like one actual death.
it also prevents. There was a time a year, maybe two or so ago, where we had a player who had been in Ome's order, promptly gave all of Ome's shrine information to another god's order, and then they proceeded to wipe out every single fucking shrine that Ome had. I think it would also prevent these instances of maybe, everybody from Bamathis goes to bed and then Mule wakes up the next day and suddenly every shrine that they've ever had has been wiped out.
Right.
So it prevents that sort of like, well, shit, clearly I should have just stayed awake because every shrine is gone and now we have to go through the fucking monotony of building all those shrines back again. There's nothing
Right.
more irritating. Like, it's just time consuming and stupid. So I think that that would be a great fix. You do it, and maybe it has to be a death not just from anybody, but from that order, because then
Yeah,
you could just have your teammate kill you, and then you can keep on
yeah.
defiling. Maybe somebody
That's
from his order has to kill you to get rid of the aura.
that's tied into my idea. My idea would be like keep the timer like it is, the 24 plate hours, but every time you defile a shrine, like every time you defile or dust a shrine, you get like one additional charge on the aura too. And then when you get killed by someone from that order, you lose a charge, and when you have 0 charges, your aura disappears. Or when the aura runs down from the timer.
Hmm.
Yeah, I
Okay,
think
so
that
the initial defilement, how many would you start off with?
Well, like it's
You
weird
start off with
because
like
they
three or
like
something?
do you get the charge or basically each charge equates to one player death, right? Or player kill on you. So
Right.
like do you get the charge from like typing the command each time, or do you get it from like it would have to you'd have to they'd have to mechanically think about that, but the idea is that like every shrine you destroy you would get another charge on the aura, and then but like if you die 3 times to them like after dusting 3 shrines, then the aura disappears. But it has to, again, like you said, it has to be from someone from that order too that you defiled
yeah,
their
otherwise
shrines.
you just have your buddies killing you or something.
Yeah.
The city bounty system is actually also not a bad idea. Make it a player decision. If you're not, like, because sure, a god will notice, but thinking back again to Greek gods, which I would say our gods are fairly similar to, who's the god going to be pissed at? Is the god's going to be pissed at the person that fucked with their temple, but the god's probably going to be just a little bit more pissed at the worshippers who weren't paying enough attention to
Right.
notice that the temple got fucked. So like making it something where your order, and it would give some actually something for an order to do, to have to actually pay attention, make sure none of their shrines got destroyed. It would give them something to do. And then you have bounties, which then, without having to create an order war, because nobody wants one. That's the reason why more orders aren't constantly at each other's throats, because order wars are boring and time consuming.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
if you have a bounty system, you go, okay, and it doesn't even have to be gold. It can be you'll gain this much favor with your god, or like a blessing that lasts this many days if you kill this person for this specific transgression against the god.
Yeah.
I think that that would be a really interesting way to handle it, because, it then that way it's also sort of let's say your god is gone for a little bit, you have a Demarial situation, you can still go, yeah, but this guy fucked with our shrines. You kill him, bring back the bounty, then there's a trigger for that god that gives you a blessing from that god for however many days the bounty was worth. It kind of becomes a way to make sure that people have the blessings they need for divine grace and stuff like that, even when their god isn't super duper active.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. And I
I
think
mean, actually, I would be a huge fan of that, of changing like the bounty system to like just away from gold, and also having it, as you said, do like, like blessing, or get favor like with a god or something. I think that would
Yeah.
be awesome.
yeah.
Also creates more god RP, which
Yeah.
people are clearly interested in having.
I mean, I guess the slippery slope there is it worth like I don't know, like a jurisdictional type thing that does it fall under under Enorian uh like
No,
laws to bounty somebody over, you know, defiling an ethnic shrine just because she's on our divine advisory doesn't necessarily make it a city issue, you know.
I think that it would be an order thing. I think orders would have their own in their temple or whatever would have their own little bounty office. Where it's because the orders also used to have like high priests of that god.
Yeah,
I don't know
that's
if
what
Right.
I was gonna say.
Ethne used to have one. So let's say your high priest is now the person who gives you a blessing from your god for killing one of your god's enemies. I don't think it needs to become a city thing, and I think cities, you know, it might take a little bit of like, you know, admin coming in and being like, okay, if Rasani defiled a Dar shrine, the city can't step in when she gets her ass beat by, you know, Dar's congregation for doing so. She did that. She has to, you know, we stay out of it. It's a divine thing. It's not a city thing.
Right.
And I think that that would be easy enough to do because the city probably be pissed at you for doing that anyway. So but I think that the priests of the gods could just become their little
Bounty board,
clerks, the
con
bounty guys.
yeah,
Yeah,
constabulary of the gods or whatever.
I would love that. That would be spectacular.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's terrible because I mean that would also promote like
Stars
smaller
can be the
orders being able
underdog.
to bounty out other stuff if they can't handle it themselves. Like, you know, like if somebody
Yeah,
wanted to, you know, to bully Dar's order, you know, because their champion, you know, sucks, uh, that maybe they could just, you know, just bounty it out, you know. I think that would
right.
be good. So,
Well,
Yeah,
again, the Mariel is another good example of that. Like, a lolly's great and all, but it's just the lolly mostly, you know, as
right.
far as
yeah.
combatants in our congregation. There's a few of us that, you know, have Sunder and this and that, but like that goes hand in hand with what I was thinking about. Like, if we don't have something like this and hardly anybody does defilement because they don't because the system sucks so bad, essentially, then like what is even the point of the champion position in orders, you know? It feels like very like hit and miss with champions in general right now. It's like
It's
what is it even for, essentially, if
it's
nobody, you know,
technically it's technically for Order Wars, but
that
Order
don't
Wars are
happen.
so unfun
Yeah.
because the system
Right,
sucks.
right. That's what
The
I'm saying.
system
Like,
sucks so bad, yeah. It but I kind of like it because I always thought it would be interesting, and this is something maybe I'll pitch to Anorian. I always thought it might be interesting to have something where the orders themselves have competition, like friendly competition between the orders. So it's almost like the Olympics,
yeah.
but it's between the pantheon's, you know, champions. So let's say you've got, you know, Dar sends out somebody, and it's just a little tournament or something to, you know, dedicated to the gods. And I think that that would be something if we started including again culture building for these different orders and these different races and that sort of thing. That you could then have something really interesting come of it. I would love to see it that happen. I would love to see just like, you know, the champions actually have something to do for their gods. Because right now, sure, if somebody goes out and defiles a shrine, they're probably going to be the first person to sign up and go look for them.
Right.
But like you said, not people don't do that very often because it
Right.
sucks.
Yeah, it's like this doesn't happen because this sucks, but we still have this thing, but it can never happen because of this thing, and it's just like it's like it's weird because like the idea of an order champion is a really cool idea in general. Like it lifting this one champion of that god that is, you know, awesome at combat supposedly or whatever, and it's never used for much, you know. It's just mostly a fame line a lot of the times.
Right. I mean, and I think that the champion is one of those things where it's somebody that should be resolving conflict with, like, you know, not so much like within the order, but like for the order, you know, like
Yeah,
on behalf of it. You know, people that are defiling shrines, or you know, you have people who are really great about being like vocal opponents of other gods, like Alela. She's great about, you know, just digging on other divine. But
yeah,
you know, and I think that the champion is that person who should either deal with that in like a combative way or be the person that leads the order in like an RP response to it.
I wish
So
we saw and this is again sort of I guess related to something else for champions to do. I sort of wish we saw more conflict going away from just ganking anybody who follows that god to the champions coming out and just sort of agreeing that we're resolving this for our orders. You and I are going to fight, and however it ends, it ends. Because there's something I think that there is some honor to fighting as a champion of a god, no
Mhm.
matter the god. Even if you are, Severn's champion, you should understand that being a champion of something means that you have to fight with some honor. That doesn't mean you can't be a Sisson, you're still there and fighting, but it does mean you can't be a Sisson and go, well, I have 5 other Sisson hidden in the room that are going to help me if I start to lose.
Mhm.
Like, just because Severn is like a liar and whatever, I
Yeah.
think that there's something interesting about even Severn's champion being like, no, I fight alone. We solve this way, and then it's done. Like a
Yeah.
culture between the orders of understanding that there's a certain way, that, especially now that Bamathis is like, well, we all have to fight against the Albades, so you should all worship me. If you're going to try and be like, well, the gods are now working together, then there has to be some accord between the orders that understands we can't be killing each other because then the Albadi are going to get, a one up on us or something.
Right.
So we resolve our issues in these ways. These are the rules of this, this treaty between the orders, and then it's done. I think that that would be a very cool thing to do because then you could decide, each order head would have something that's like, this is your way of resolving conflict, or this is what your duty is under this treaty to other orders or whatever. Um, and it doesn't have to negate being able to defile shrines or whatever, but it does then go, okay, it. I just think that there are ways to make the champion thing feel more substantial.
Yeah.
Instead of I'm leading the gank squad, it can be
Right. Yeah.
I am the
I am
champion
the
of
gank
my god.
squad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm the
Yeah.
gank squad. Let's
Okay.
gank each other.
Okay, that's fair. I mean, I could get down with that kind of like I don't know, like an unspoken agreement. I mean, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, like almost like a sect duel, but for champions of the order, where you guys are in the same room, you kind of do your cowboy standoff, and then you go at it.
So kind of like
Um,
a Gray Accords, but for like divine stuff, like Holy Wars.
yeah, and I don't think it needs to be super duper. Like if Ome and Chakrasol have some big deep beef, and it breaks the who's gonna hold the gods accountable for
Right.
breaking a treaty? Nobody. So if they decide to go to war, whatever within that, that's fine. But I do think it could be interesting to really play off the idea that you have your one holy champion and you send them out to defend your honor.
Yeah. The only one that could hold them accountable would be Varian.
Yeah, and he's not going to do it. He sucks.
Right. He sure
Wow.
does. All right, so before we
I didn't know we were
Dang.
embracing heresy.
Tell us how you really feel, Rosani.
before we move on to whatever else you want to talk about, we may even be coming up on the end here, but I do want to note for anyone anyone that wants to be in the credit giveaway, go ahead and type exclamation ticket and then space and then the number 1 in chat. I know there may be some people that are just listening to us in another window. I did open the giveaway. And also, I would really appreciate it because I know there are probably some people watching that have not followed us yet. Please follow us. We have less than 10 followers we need to get in order to get affiliate on Twitch with the channel. So if you haven't followed, please follow. But yeah, some more people. Oh, thank you. Thank you for the follow. Thank you both for the follow. Appreciate it. Oh, there's a third one. Everybody's hitting the button. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, we're getting there.
I didn't even have to talk about how real knights fuck and they followed.
Oh my gosh. What is with you in that?
Jesus Christ.
So before we get out of here, do we want to elaborate? Like, do you want to explain to us why
I
knighthood?
I think it's
I think it's pretty
fairly
self-explanatory.
obvious. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nights are
So-
sexy. There's an eroticism to duty, I would say. I could write a
Wow.
paper on it.
That is like the
There is-
quote of the year so far. There's an eroticism to duty. All right.
There is.
Nice.
It's the, there is. It's the wife of Christ being a nun or whatever. There's an eroticism to declaring that your duty to this, that your life is for this. There's just something sexy about it.
I see.
I could talk for a while. It could be a whole podcast, so let's not.
Is that why the uniforms are attractive? Is it the same premise?
Everybody loves
I mean,
uniforms.
if the uniforms were attractive, then Serena would wear them more often rather
Oh,
than walk
boy.
around shirtless.
You just want to show off your nipple rings because you're
Right?
the only one who can get them through the queue.
This is true.
Just cut like small circles out where the nipples are, and then wear your uniform like that. That's
Yeah, there you go.
Jeez. First mental image.
Oh,
man.
goodness.
Oh man.
But yeah, I'm glad to hear. I've heard from a few people that now that's just being said places to each other, that real nights fuck. I'm a big fan.
Oh,
I'm glad
God.
that's really
Right.
making around.
This is your legacy.
I'm glad. It's not gonna be anything I did as Pentarch. It's not gonna be forging for multiple gods. It's going to be that I once on a podcast said
Right.
real nights fuck, and I stand by it.
I'm
I
not sure
stand
what
by
that says about this show.
100%.
Like, what is the legacy of our Twitch stream? That real nights
That-
fuck? Like,
Real nights fuck, yeah.
Real nights fuck, yeah. That's the new name of the podcast. Real
oh my
nights
God.
fuck.
The weekly milestone after dark.
Oh
Yeah.
God. All right.
Oh,
Well,
God.
is there anything else we want to get into? We're coming up on let's see here. We've been live for about 2 hours and 20 minutes. No.
It's all good.
We've talked
Yeah,
about a
I think
lot.
that's- I
We
think
have
that's
talked
pretty
about a
good.
lot.
We
Yeah.
did talk about a lot. I think this leaves I don't know, this leaves it pretty open for next week,
Yeah.
in terms of like stuff that we can discuss. So hopefully this week, upcoming. I mean, there's been a lot of movement, in Atolia over this last week, and I'm kind of excited for what the next week brings. So
Yeah. And
I
go ahead,
what
Rosani.
do you mean by conflict? I'm looking at this question. Like, what kind? Because there's many different kinds of conflict in Atolia. Or do you just want a whole episode about conflict, the different kinds?
Well, before they respond, I do want to note that it's not lost on me that all three of us in here are all from Honorian, and I know there's a lot of you in chat that are from Shadow, and I know we've had a couple Shadow players on here before, but we could always use more. Like, I would love to hear, like, you know how we just sat here and talked about all this Bomathis Templar stuff? It's like, I would love to hear if anything happened, like, in Bloodlock or Spines Reach with that sort of thing that we don't know about. Like, I would love to hear about that. I'm not trying to just have us on from Honorian, like, I'd love to hear about that sort of stuff too, honestly.
Can Mule will Mule come on and talk to me?
I mean, if she wants to.
Yeah, Mule, come on and talk to me. Let's just have a whole troll podcast.
We could do
All
that.
trolls all the time.
I could even just produce it like when I was sick and just not say anything. I'd be okay with that.
The Troll Power Hour. All trolls. Oops, all trolls.
And then one day we can do one with the Minotaurs too. That'd be fun.
I would love to hear from some people who are excited to play Minotaurs.
Yeah.
Yeah, where people can hear my voice. People heard my voice say real nights fuck. Like,
Here we go again.
Jesus.
like, come on now.
I mean, the only thing is
Get a
that
GLaDOS
if
voice
Mule
box.
comes on here, she has to shout everything.
Oh my
Yeah, she's kind of
no.
just yelling.
If she doesn't, I'm gonna unsubscribe from this shit
my
because
God.
my world view will now be shattered.
Well, here's the secret that you two don't know because you probably didn't listen to it. But Mial was actually on the audio only podcast I did. She was on one of the first few
Oh.
episodes.
Then
years
come
ago.
on and shoot the shit with me. We'll get you a voice changer that makes you sound like GLaDOS.
Oh no.
And then you
A
can be on.
voice changer.
Yeah.
It'll be like a
one of
scam
those-
baiting stream.
Got Mule in here sounding like Microsoft Sam.
Yeah, did Clippy make any noises? I don't think so.
Oh my.
Never mind, my joke is out the window.
Mule's gonna sound like
Jesus.
who knows what.
I would love to have Mule on for a troll power hour. That would be great. I honestly would also like to hear if at any point, I don't know if he feels comfortable or whomever, uh, if whomever is playing Bamathis and is going through this time of trying to what seems like trying to transition Bamathis into a god that could conceivably maybe be worshipped by everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to hear from whoever's tackling that because it's a hard thing to do because Bamathis was so like divisive as a god coming into the pantheon.
Mm-hmm.
Part of that is for the imagery that they chose, bad choice, but it was also part of it was just kind of like he was a crass little shithead, which made sense. So now I'd like to hear from basically from whoever's trying to bring him into his adulthood as a god instead of his infancy as a god.
Yeah, and
I think that could be interesting.
I would love to see that too. I'd love to see volunteers be able to feel comfortable with being on here. I know that traditionally volunteers specifically not like I don't think they usually want them to come on here because they don't want them to
Right.
feel like they're gonna mess up if they say something wrong and like they're not getting paid and that sort of thing. Um, I've always loved when Tyr and Ictinus came on. I loved when Jeremy came on that time, and it's great for them. But I would love us to get to a point where they feel comfortable with having volunteers on because I'd love to hear with their the way they talk and the way they like. I'd love to hear if they're hyped about what's going on. We hear about it in Discord and stuff, but like I'd really love to hear some voices from volunteers sometimes if they feel comfortable and they can change their policy on that. That would be nice.
That would be very cool. I would love that.
I have an idea of who I think is playing Bamathis just from watching people's habits on their status on Discord, on Anatolia Discord, and Bamathis when he logs on and stuff. But I won't say who my suspicions are. But you know, I would love to hear from whoever's doing that. I think it would be cool. I think it would be. They don't even have to stay the whole time. They could just talk about Bamathis, and then when they're done, peace out or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. I it is a god that I don't envy anybody having to sort of bring back from where it wound up. So I'm very curious to see what plans they have for, trying to pull out of this difficult position with this particular god. And you know what? It will what I've seen so far I think has been interesting. So I'm looking forward to seeing more.
Yep. Oh, Rowan says, can we perhaps ask for a role on the official Discord that can be pinged when the Twitch goes live? Some of us don't watch the Discord all the time. Yeah, I know when I did the audio podcast a couple years back that they were posting it in announcements, and I haven't asked them to do that for this yet because there's a streaming channel, uh, and I also just I don't know. I wanted to show that we can keep this going longer than the podcast before they just start doing stuff like that. But maybe I mean if somebody wants to post the idea or if we want to get together and like write about it in general chat and Discord, maybe they'll read it or something. I don't know. Or maybe if enough people message Ictinus about it, he'll be okay with it. You know how he is. He responds pretty quickly to what people want right now. So that's up to you
He's doing a
guys.
great job. I'm very pleased so far with what he's gotten done. And the Solani seem a whole lot happier, which is important.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
yeah.
I'm very pleased by that.
Yeah. Oh my god. Steve just DM'd me a picture and I'm not even gonna show it. It's
I saw it.
It's embarrassing.
I'll
Yeah, I
post
just
it.
sent it to Rasani too.
I'll post it. I have.
Oh
no
my
fear.
god.
I have no fear.
All right. Well,
I'm unstoppable.
I'm gonna be real honest. Like as far as the whole like making a special thing to notify people about the stream, in my ideal world for that particular thing, it would be some kind of OOC message or some kind of board on the game, and not just the Discord. So that because like not everyone goes on Discord from in game. For one thing, I think that's a common misconception. A lot of people are like, oh, everybody's in Discord, but not everybody's in Discord. So. And there might be people that don't even know about the stream in game still after us doing it for like 2 months now. So, but that's maybe something down the road if we keep going. Oh,
Yeah,
you people.
your meme's a hit, dude.
Right. Maybe we'll get
Jesus.
some new Templar out of this.
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
I hope I
You
want
should.
and give me some Centauri. Anybody who's trying to figure out what class to play right now, a Templar is great. I won't say don't go to the Templar because my whole RP up until a month ago had been being a Templar. However, come be a Centauri if you're looking for something a little less Templar, because we're doing some cool shit right now, and also I want some people for Rasani to be able to to interact with. I love helping newbies. If you're new to the game and you're looking for somebody to talk to you, I will talk to you for hours. Like it was my favorite thing to do when I led a guild was help newbies out. I genuinely enjoy it. So hit me up. Yeah, exactly. Mule's right. I want to bully newbies.
Right.
But that might actually another good thing might actually be for some of these guild have somebody on from each guild to come and sort of make their pitch for coming to check their guild out for all these new people who have never played Atolia before. Might be a
Yeah.
cool
Yeah.
thing to do.
Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
I'd love to have. I would love to have more variation. Not that I don't like the cast we have. I love everyone we've had so far. I just would like to have even more people that are interested in coming on here.
Certainly, yeah.
And again, you know, definitely more people from Shadow. That would be cool. This means you, Mule. So anyway,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. The all troll cast would be good.
I would love that.
I would be 100% okay with that. We could even do that as like an additional special day of the week one if you guys wanted to. Like,
It's troll edition.
yeah, why not? The weekly milestone troll edition. That would be awesome. I would do it. Another fun thing.
Have to get a soundboard for us headbutting each other.
That can be arranged.
Excellent.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and say one more time before I close it. There is a giveaway going on. If anybody wants to participate, there's a credit giveaway going on. You just have to type exclamation ticket space and then the number 1. I know some people might have joined the chat since I mentioned it last time. If you want to win 50 credits, I'll give it another 2 minutes or so, and then I'll close it and we'll pick a winner. Wow. That brings back a lot of memories, Mule. I love Diablo.
Oh
Jesus.
no. Roblox. Oof. Big oof.
Whew. Man, I don't know. My throat's starting to hurt again from talking all that much. Ugh.
Oh god. It wasn't too well, although I wasn't here for last week, so I don't know how crazy it was.
It wasn't. It was we had Ictennis on, but we also just had me and Sidin. And
Did you guys end up talking about class leads? Did that come up?
we talked a little bit about it, yeah. And then him and Chat both tried to corner me on what I felt about was basically my class lead that only I'm using in the game, probably the remnants thing for Templar.
Oh, the two-handed thing.
Yeah, because like
Yeah,
let's be real.
That's probably definitely only you. Because
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Templar that uses a two-handed.
Or Revenant for that matter. Like I'm
Yeah.
literally the only player in the whole game that it probably applies to.
Yeah.
But
This is for PK.
Yeah.
I've never used two-hander unless we're doing
Yeah.
full damage at like a lesser or something.
Yeah.
well, that's basically what it's for. That's what I do at Lessers a lot of the time.
Oh, okay, I see. Yeah, whenever I'm at Lester's, I'm usually told to go AF, so or we're doing limbs or something like that. But full
Limby
damage, I
limbies?
use a bastard for sure.
Let's see. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and close the giveaway, and we'll see who wins. There's 8 people in it. Draw a winner. Chronic Beza. I feel like that person won before. I might be wrong though.
No, it was Durif. I don't think he's won it. He
Oh,
hasn't won it
okay.
yet.
I didn't even know if that was him. Can you confirm that is you, that you are Durif Chronic Beza? Okay, just making sure before I give you the credits. Okay.
That's my dad.
Okay.
Did, is the nipple rings a family trait, or are you like the
It
disappointing
it
son?
it definitely is not.
Okay, so you're like the disappointing son
Yeah,
who has
I've
nipple
really been
rings and like.
considering just making my title the Saran. You know.
Oh God.
One last thing I'll say, especially about stream news in general, is that I did email. I told a couple people in our Discord about this, but I haven't told everyone yet. So I did email Ictennis with the idea of maybe having Iron Realms fund the credit giveaway. Um, because I can keep doing it with my own credits, but I'd really prefer not to if I don't have to. And I think we do a good job in this stream of bringing a lot of hype to the game. I think it's healthy for the game. And he kind of generally paraphrasing him, he agreed and he didn't say no to it, but I basically think it was a no for right now. Um, I think that that's better than just no outright, and I think it speaks to his character that he would be such like because he knows that this is like a very good community thing. That's what he said, and that he would like to do it, but he'd have to talk to Jeremy. And then when I mentioned all this to Steve, I think it was you, Steve. You made a good point. It's like we're not exactly PG on here, so
Right.
it's
I mean, we're like it's very like a I don't know, like a community run thing, and I think that he and any other business would be hesitant to actually put like some level of like their company value or their name behind something, especially if stuff goes poorly. Like they kind of
right,
like want to have that I don't know, like deniability that they're not associated with something,
right,
but kind of like
I
see how it goes up until a point where I don't know. Maybe they also don't want to feel like that they're taking this away from us or taking it away from you, because I feel like a lot of places tend to get that way, where if they have corporate sponsorship or something, that they feel like that that they're now ruled by these corporate overlords, type things. So
well
I
that
think
before we
I
continue, sorry, I want to
yeah.
interject with Saran sent me 100 credits just now, and that wasn't what I was trying to do. Like I wasn't trying to beg for credits here. I'm okay with paying for it. It's just like it would be nice if it was self-sustaining. That's all
what?
I'm saying. Like
Oh, Saren.
yeah, gave me.
Okay, I was like, I did.
Oh, sorry, I'm not sure
um
how to pronounce their name. I'm sorry. Go on,
I think
Rosani.
it
Sorry.
might also be they want to see how long it lasts, because if the like
Yeah,
a stream that doesn't last as long as they're hoping, then they might not want to
yeah,
they might see, oh, it's still going 6 months, a year in, or whichever, and then they go, okay, this seems worth it because it is continuing to go.
yeah,
Right.
um
Yeah, that's fair. Like an
yeah,
investment type thing.
yeah.
exactly, yeah, you don't want to throw your money into something that it's going well, but then it just kind of falls apart,
Right.
like,
Yeah.
so.
Did you Shark Tank this, Eric's? Like
What do
you
you
really
mean?
could have pitched this a whole lot better.
What
You know?
the stream?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think, not, I think the proof is in the pudding, as it were. I mean, they watch it, so they watch it and know the value. Like everybody loves it so far, it seems. Um,
Fair enough.
I think what's going to happen is that eventually we will get affiliate, and then people can start subscribing, and if enough people subscribe, then it can be self-sustaining. You know, so that's probably what's going to happen. And then there's also people like Saran and I will say I didn't say on stream, but Phoenicia did send me 200 credits to help out with it too. So people can help when they will, and I appreciate it. It's just that I would rather it be self-sustaining. I'd rather it be like a 100% like community driven thing, the credit giveaway.
Yeah, absolutely, makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you, Rowan. That's another way they could do it is just to have them give the winner credits directly. Maybe we'll get there someday. But like if I had to choose between them giving the stream credits for me to give to people and them like saying doing Bardics and Arsenals again, I would probably pick the latter. I will say I would rather us be giving credits away for things we do in Bardics or Artisanals than this stream. I think that would be cool. Okay. All right. Well, with that, I think we're about done for the week, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're about done. I need to go make some lunch.
Yeah, I think I want to eat some dinner myself. Start
All right,
charging
sounds good.
people 10 credits to download Sunder to generate revenue for the stream. Well, I don't own Sunder.
Yeah, I think it's a community thing, and I would be hesitant to charge people that because I know that when I first came back, I don't think I had any credits to my name,
Yeah.
and Sunder really like was the reason why I stuck around. Because having to like build a system from the ground up, is definitely
Yeah.
daunting, especially with how automated stuff is now. I mean, I guess maybe if people want to donate like credits, to the stream or whatever, I think that would be fine. I don't think anybody would turn those away, but but yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we
Yeah,
we have a hard enough time getting people to contribute like triggers and roots and like and code stuff to Sunder, for like mass release. That I think it'd be we'd be pretty hard pressed to get credits out of it.
Yeah. It's all good. Like we could also just not do the credit giveaway, but I'd rather keep doing it if we can. I think it's fun. And I think it helps people too. Like, our first one that we gave away was to Tom and he's classless, so and he was new at the time. So, but anyway, we can go ahead and get out of here. I know everybody has stuff to do, and we've went pretty long today, and we had a lot of fun. I was worried we wouldn't have much to talk about, but we have Rosani, so that solved that. And yeah,
Orsani saved the show.
yep, she saves everyone.
It's the muscles.
Yep,
It's the big beefy trolls. Like just.
it's Battle Fury defend weekly milestone. That's what it is. All right,
Wow.
well, see y'all later.
All right.
Let's get out of
See you
here.
guys later.
Let's have a good night. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.